Texas. Ain't no hold 'em. So lay your cards down, 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 down. So park your Lexus and throw your keys up. Stick around, round, 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 round. Stick around. And I'll be damned if I can't slow dance with you. Come pour some sugar on me, honey, too. It's a real live boogie and a real live hold down. Don't be a come take it to the floor now. Woo! There's a tornado. In my city. At the basement. That's pretty. Rugged whiskey. We're surviving.
It was on this day 2 years ago. Oh my goodness, we're not going all that far back in history at all, are we? We are not. This day in 2024, that Beyonce became the first black woman to top the Billboard country singles chart when that song right there, Texas Hold'em, went number one. It was, of course, titled after that poker game variant, and it was an international commercial success marking several historical achievements. What are those historical achievements, you ask? I'm glad you asked that question. In the United States, Texas Hold'em topped the Billboard Hot 100. It became Beyonce's 9th solo number one single. Prior to Beyonce, Queen Bee, only 7 black women had charted on the country chart. The previous highest ranking song by a solo black artist was Linda Martell's Color Him Father. Sorry, solo black woman. Artist would have been different if we're including the men, but the highest ranking song by a solo black woman before Beyonce's was a 1969 hit by Linda Martell called Color Him Father. That peaked at number 22. But on this day, February the 24th, 2 years ago, Texas Hold'em goes number one, the first black woman to top the Billboard Country Singles chart. As we wind down, only days left in Black History Month. On that note, allow me to take this opportunity to remind you that this Friday's All Request, in keeping with the Black History Month theme, I want you to hear your favorite Motown tune. So get your requests in by sending me an email to mike@570news.com or by giving us a call and just letting Jen know what song it is you would like to hear on Friday. We are celebrating Motown. I got some things on my mind today. I'm coming in hot, so brace yourself because I'm a wee bit on the fired up side. Some good news and some bad news for you about Trustler Road. I will get to that. And it occurred to me, as it so often does, I like to go home from work. I like to go out with my favorite little pet, Rosie the pandemic pup. We take nice long walks together, weather be darned. That wind was bitter yesterday, but the husky that's in that puppy of ours, she doesn't mind a whole heck of a lot. I mind a whole lot more, but still we get out. It's just some nice time together. It's fresh air and things occur to me. And it has occurred to me the very reason that we are exhausted by this winter. It's not just all the snow. So I'll get to that as well. Why we are so exhausted by this winter and the good news, bad news about Trustler Road coming up. But as you know, the minute we begin the show together every day, our phone lines are open so we can hear directly from you. And Andre's got something on his mind to start the show. Brace yourself because I usually don't even understand what's on Andre's mind, but let's see what happens this morning. Good morning, Andre.
Mike.
Hi.
That's awesome.
What's awesome?
You.
Thank you.
Your show.
You're pretty awesome too, my friend.
Just trying to be transparent.
Okay. So you're trying to be unlike every elected official everywhere. I gotcha. That's a joke, politicians. That's just a little joke from the fired up Farwell today. What's on your mind, Andre?
I'd like to continue about yesterday because I didn't really had a good sleep because I've been talking to some people about the Mexico thing. And that's the reason why I'm calling, because I appreciate you and your show at 10:30. You're going to talk about it.
Very good. You're paying attention. I was going to say that too. That's right. At 10:30 this morning, we will be talking about Mexico.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say, Mike, that because that's why I listen to the show, because I want to get smarter. But when I did talk, everybody said to me that when you go to a third world country or whatever, you are responsible for being there and coming back. and I feel really bad about that. So Mexico, I had never been out of Canada, and this is the reason why, because I feel safe at home. But I feel very sorry for them. And I really hope you have some great experience or expertise people are going to talk about it, Mike. Have a great day.
All right, Andre. Thank you very much. We always bring the experts onto the show. That's what makes all of us a little bit smarter. At least I hope so. I feel that way myself because I try to pay very close attention to these guests and learn a thing or two from them. So, as Andre just reminded you, 10:30 this morning on the show, we will be talking to somebody who is an expert in the Mexican drug cartels and the violence that occurs there. And we will talk to him about what is occurring presently. It sounds like the danger is beginning to lessen somewhat, but it's interesting what Andre says about staying at home. I'm not yet ready to just do that, but it did occur to me as I watched my evening news yesterday that the world is a very interesting, if not somewhat concerning place. And I thought to myself, would I be booking a flight to Puerto Vallarta anytime soon, or the Mayan Riviera? I don't know that I would be. Doug, over to you. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike. I just wanted to, I don't think it's a trust of the road. I know you're going to do that later this morning, and I'll be out of range.
I'm not doing it later this morning. I'm doing it. Doug, don't mow my grass. I'm doing it in like 5 minutes if I ever get around to it.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll tell you. People just don't pay attention at the intersection with Huron.
Okay.
This morning I'm coming to work, and honest to goodness, with the slippery conditions on the road, there are about 6 cars waiting to make a right-hand turn or go through the light. At least 3 cars came up over the rise doing at least 80 to 90. And 2 of them wound up in the ditch, and I'm lucky one of them didn't wind up as a hood ornament for me. But it happens, that intersection, people just, I don't know, it's got a advanced green on it, and it seems to be all right, but people just don't pay attention coming up over that rise just before you get there if you're heading west. So anyway, it's a dangerous intersection in my mind. I don't know why it seems to be a problem for people. I started slowing down when I come over the hill. It's just like, it's crazy.
All right, Doug, listen, I appreciate that. So Trustler and Huron Road, a dangerous intersection. Doug, who drives it regularly, is taking appropriate caution. Believe it or not, that was not part of my good news, bad news for Trustler Road for you today. That's more bad news. I've got even more to lump on to that, the danger that exists, Trustler and Huron. Speaking of those speeds, though, and the dangers, how about Punky Doodle's Corners, eh? Not 1, but 2 collisions yesterday. One of my coworkers came in this morning all fired up. He said people are driving too damn fast. They need to lower the limit to 60 on that road. I thought they already had, but I guess the limit remains at 80, which means people are doing 100. And what happens then? Crunch, smack, boom. We have to slow down. And I would strongly urge whichever township, is it Oxford, is it Waterloo Region, to get that speed limit lowered to 60. Ain't no reason to be coming around that corner at 80, in my humble estimation. Jerry is also with us early this morning. Good morning, Jerry.
No,
it's Gary. I don't know what's going on. I had number 41 and it said Jerry, and I don't know why. Jen, there's a Jerry and a Gary. What are we doing here? It's Gary. Why are we putting Jerry on the phone? Gary, Farwell's Force member number 41, you deserve to be treated better. It's hard to find good help around here, Jerry.
Hey, it's close enough because I have people, when I say, yeah, what's your name? I say, oh, it's Gary. Oh, Jerry. And I'm like, no, it's Gary. And I'm like, you know what? It's close enough.
No, it's not close enough. Gary and Jerry are completely different sounds and names, and we're going to call you by the right name, Jerry.
All right, buddy. How are you this morning?
I'm fired up, Gary. Stop it already.
I know. It's like I just got in the car, going to go deliver some parts, and, you know, the radio's on. I'm just like, man, it's Mike's having quite the morning.
It's only 10 minutes into the show. I got 3 hours and 50 minutes to go. I might not make it today.
I know. Oh, man. Well, the sun is shining, and I know it's going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to listening when I can. Just quickly, Mike. So
okay.
I've been hearing off and on, you know, like with the news and stuff like that, the rolling out of the bins or whatever that you guys are, because here in Guelph we have the green bin, the gray bin, and the blue bin. and it rotates and stuff, right? And we've been on it for years, but I'm just trying to understand. And is it like a good thing that's happening? Like, it seems like a lot of mixed. Well,
you tell me, because you've got the rollout bins. You tell me how it works. Is it a good thing?
We like it.
Okay.
You know, like we have 2 garbage cans in the kitchen, and I've put tape on it, and I put blue, and then I put gray. So gray is just like, food spoiled,
But what about getting it to the curb, Gary, in the big cart?
Well, it's not a big deal. Like ours are on wheels, and I just open up the garage Sunday night, and I just, I get an email response saying, hey, Gary, it's going to be gray tomorrow. It's going to be blue because it rotates every 2 weeks. And I just roll it down and put it at the end of the driveway, and they come by and pick it up. And they're fairly large bins, and we've been on it for years. And I personally like it. I don't really hear any complaints, but, it's just kind of like just hearing that you guys are just getting involved. But it sounds like some mixed emotions about it.
There certainly are. Gary, I appreciate that insight. I'm glad you brought it up. Let me just, I will get to the good news and bad news about Tressler Road. I will get to why we are so ding-dang fed up with this ding-dang winter. And I will get to the Farwell Show 5. I promise. I plan things. But we keep phone lines open so we can get your perspective. And my buddy Bill Doucette, who writes for the Waterloo Region Record, had a great story in the paper today about that very issue that Gary is talking about. You probably heard during All News Mornings today with Christine Clark and Mark Douglas. The region is holding a little demonstration later today. We're going to send our buddy Josh Piercy, our morning reporter, out to that demonstration. I hope he shoots some video for us. I want to see this with my own eyes. But here's the deal. Bill's story in the paper today, talking to a couple of people in our rural townships, one in Wellesley, the other in North Dumfries, and they're saying, the hell with this. How am I getting this thing all the way down my 200-foot driveway? How am I getting this thing to the side of busy Highway 24? It's not, we are trying one size fits all. It will not work for all. However, Bill's story also spoke to a woman in Waterloo who used to live in Guelph, as Gary lives now. And they say, hey, we've been on this system for a while already. It works great. I think it's going to work okay in urban residential areas for the most part. Again, there is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Change is hard. I will tell you why I don't like the bin program that we're going on to, because I don't have a garage like Gary. He says he just opens up the garage, wheels out the appropriate bin that day. Lucky you, Gary. I've got this big, ugly thing sitting at the back of my driveway. I don't know where else to put it. I got no other place to put it. So I'm kind of pooched that way. I would love to introduce you to my neighbors down the street who have about 4 of these things. I know it's a multi-unit residence now, but they've got 4 of these things plus blue bins lined up out at the front of their driveway near the sidewalk. Let me tell you how nice that looks in the neighborhood. It's ugly as sin. And do we care? I don't think we care. Property standards? What property standards? Do we still have property standards, by the way? Is there a certain height to which your lawn should be mowed? We've heard the stories this winter about coming out and chastising people for not getting their snow cleared. What about cutting the damn grass? Do we still do that? The region doesn't even do that anymore. You remember the mess on all of our boulevards and Fisher-Hallman Road along the sides of the road? What standards do we maintain anymore? It's all an illusion from where I'm sitting. But this driveway down the street from us looks like crap, flat out. No 2 ways about it. Anyway, I guess I'm going to roll my bin to the curb. I guess we're all going to roll our big bins to the curb, and that's how it's going to work. And we're going to get used to it. And I would like the rebate on my taxes, please, and thank you for the decreased cost for this, right? Because we're cutting down on people power. They're going to use this big automated arm to come and pick up the bin at the end of my driveway. It's going to be fantastic. That's what it's going to be. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to... Shelley's on the phone. I don't want Shelley to miss her opportunity to talk, so I'm going to go right back to the phones. Hi, Shelley. Yeah.
Good morning, Mike.
Hi.
I have a comment about the garbage bins.
They suck.
I live in a triplex in Kitchener, and our driveway is just like one car width wide.
Yeah.
And we have 3 of those big garbage bins. So and they have to be set at your end of your driveway. They have to be set 2 feet apart so the arms can get them.
They can go on the boulevard too, as long as it's a flat surface.
Right, but not right. Yeah, not right now. They can't. So I'm just thinking, like, right now, just to let people know that you can't put them one behind another. They have to be across the end of your driveway, which is, I'm the only person in my triplex that drives. I'm just wondering how I'm going to get out when there's 3 bins right across the end of my driveway. Yeah,
Shelley, this is the other thing. In the wintertime, right? What are you going to do? And that's what the fella in the paper today out in North Dumfries was saying. You can't get them at the end of the driveway because it's a multi-unit building, and you have to drive out, and you're not going to move the bins and then drive out onto Highway 24, which is kind of a fast-moving road, right? You can't do that. So what are you going to do? You're going to figure it out, I guess. And then in the nicer weather, I guess you can get them. But remember, they have to be at least an arm's length apart so the big mechanical arms can come down and pick them up. I don't know. Change is hard. We're going to try to make this work. But it's going to take some getting used to, isn't it? And again, we will have our reporter at the demonstration today. You know where it's going to be demonstrated? Indoors. You watch. Ain't nobody going to be lugging one of these suckers out through the snow today in the bitter cold, are they? No. It will be a controlled environment for the demonstration. The wheels will roll nicely across the floor because there's not a piece of gravel. There's not some mud. There ain't no ice or snow. That's okay. We'll just show you how easy it is to roll a bin that's empty across a floor in a building somewhere. It's going to be lovely. Real life applications, that's up to you to figure out. What am I going to do? It's 9:17 already. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get to this. 1, 2. How about 5? I got 5 for you. Your Farwell Show 5, starting at number 1. The foreign student exodus has hit Waterloo Region harder than other communities. There's been an average decline of 70% enrollment in foreign students across Ontario's 24 community colleges. But Conestoga College here in the region has experienced a 75% decline. Conestoga, the University of Waterloo, and Wilfrid Laurier University added 18,665 foreign students between 2021 and 2023, but then collectively lost 25,135 foreign students between 2023 and 2025. Number 2, Waterloo Mayor Dorothy McCabe brought forward a motion at last night's meeting requesting that municipalities be allowed opportunity to review the full financial, reserves, and operational impacts of the province's plan to consolidate local conservation authorities. Ward 7 councillor Julie Wright says the motion is particularly important to Waterloo Region and our Grand River Conservation Authority.
Conservation Ontario is the overarching body for all of the conservation authorities that are more local in context. And one of the things that they put forward is that the scale of the proposed regional consolidation is really too large to preserve successful watershed management in Ontario. And this is especially important to the region of Waterloo. You know how important it is that we protect our watershed integrity here because we're 80% groundwater and 20% reliant on the Grand River for our drinking water supply. There are 49 other communities that also rely on the Grand River for drinking water. And so it's really important that we have some entity that understands the local context and can have a high engagement with their local municipalities in the stewardship of the watershed.
Mayor McCabe's motion passed unanimously at Waterloo Council last night. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, President Volodymyr Zelensky says that Russia has not broken Ukrainians nor triumphed in its war. He spoke today, 4 years after an invasion that has severely tested the resolve of Kyiv and its allies and fueled European fears about the scale of Moscow's ambitions. In a show of support, more than a dozen senior European officials headed to the Ukrainian capital to mark the grim anniversary. Number 4, Canadian Airlines are resuming service to Puerto Vallarta after widespread violence erupted in Mexico. Global Affairs Canada is still advising people to exercise a high degree of caution in Mexico after the death of a notorious cartel leader in a Mexican government operation. And number 5, on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Cuba's ambassador to Canada is set to be on Parliament Hill this afternoon to testify before the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He's scheduled to address the committee after it hears from Global Affairs Canada officials responsible for regional issues and humanitarian response. Ottawa continues to vow it will send aid to Cuba at some point. A U.S. oil blockade has triggered a humanitarian crisis in Cuba, and officials close to U.S. President Donald Trump have suggested economic pressure could topple the country's communist regime.
A Monday warrior, mean stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
Can I have 2 liters of pop? Can I have 2 liters of pop? Well, what's more healthy, 4 beers or 2 liters of Coca-Cola? Do the math.
I'm taking 4 beers. I did the math. All right, you want your good news or your bad news on Trussler Road first? Good news? Bad news? Doug already called with some bad news earlier. He said Trussler at Huron Road is a very dangerous place because people drive too fast over the rise. Here's some good news about Trussler Road. At the expressway, the 7-8 interchange on Trussler Road, there is now a traffic signal making it safer for people exiting Highway 7-8 East. If you are exiting 7-8 East onto Trussler Road, you now have a traffic signal which will make safer your left-hand turn. We've only been asking for this safety enhancement for about 2 years now. That's the good news about Trussler Road. Here's more bad news, courtesy of our friend and yours, Fish Guide Dave, on Instagram. But I'll bet you've encountered this.
This is like the 4th person. Let's guess. All his tires are blown. Yeah, flat tires. The potholes are so bad that every day. Oh, here's another person. This is nuts. Every day I count 2 or 3 people here blow their tires out. I'm like, with my big truck, I gotta go around. This guy's blowing out right here too. That's like 5 people blowing tires in these potholes in 2 days. Trussler
Road, 5 people in 2 days blowing out their tires because the potholes are so bad. Fish Guide Dave showing us from his dash cam what it looks like on Trussler. Hey, Region of Waterloo, you think you want to patch some potholes or what? Because otherwise people will just keep blowing out tires and damaging their vehicles. But whatever. You know, corduroy roads. It's only 2026. Why should we have smooth roads and patch potholes? Who wants to do that? It's the Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The potholes are so bad on Trussler Road in the region of Waterloo that 5 vehicles in 2 days, according to dash cam footage, have blown out tires by not being able to do the appropriate pothole slalom. And I know that Trussler Road isn't the only bad spot. We had a call the other day from John who said Highland Road is a mess. You know, the mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow, promised just yesterday that a blitz is coming to patch potholes. If any one of our seven local mayors or our regional chair would like to just drop me a note, the email is easy, mike@570news.com, and let me know when the hell the blitz is coming here, because our roads are becoming impassable in some places due to all of the potholes. The offer stands. The email is simple, mike@570news.com. We've got 7 mayors. We've got 1 chair. Any one of the 8 would like to tell me when the pothole blitz is coming here in the region. I am all ears. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
This is where today's topics turn into today's talking points. It's local and it's Democratic radio at its finest. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio.
It's very challenging right now. I just sit back some days, and I'm not the only one. Everyone in the world sits back, and how can one person, one man, create so much turmoil around the world? Not just here in Canada, around the world. It's pretty staggering. So I can't wait for the midterms.
The Mike Farwell Show continues
on 570 News Radio.
That is, of course, Ontario Premier Doug Ford, and the one man he is talking about that creates so much chaos is, of course, U.S. President Donald Trump, who seems to not care a whole lot about a Supreme Court decision that invalidated his old set of sweeping tariffs from a year ago. Instead, he imposes a new 10% global tariff immediately following that Supreme Court decision. Mark Warner is a senior international business and regulatory expert and trade lawyer, joins the show to talk more about it. Mark, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you make of the U.S. president's seemingly ignoring of that Supreme Court decision and that's just bringing in new tariffs the day after?
Yeah, the difficulty with all of this is that he's not actually ignoring the decision. The decision was just more limited than the way it was being portrayed in a lot of the media in the United States and perhaps abroad. That Supreme Court decision only dealt with one specific set of tariffs under what was called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. And basically the court said, and that act didn't refer to the word tariffs at all. So that was the very simple question that the Supreme Court had to determine was, could the president impose tariffs under that particular act? But the reality is that since the Second World War, or perhaps even earlier, since the Great Depression, when the Congress enacted the ruinous Smoot-Hawley tariffs, various Congresses have delegated a lot of tariff-setting power to the president. And as he has pointed out consistently, I've got a lot of other things that were given to previous presidents, and I'm going to use them. And so he immediately pivoted, as a lot of lawyers like myself expected him to do, is to move to the quickest one to use was Section 122 of the Trade Act, and that's what he's done. So it's a bit of I think. Especially for us in Canada, we weren't particularly affected by the IEEPA tariffs because Trump had already granted us an exception for goods that cross the border complying with the CUSMA. And the governments have estimated that that's about 85 to 90% of our trade with the U.S. So I never really understood why Canadians were so interested in that case, given that the tariffs that are affecting us are principally the national security tariffs under Section 232, which basically affect aluminum, steel, autos, auto parts, softwood lumber. None of that was affected by that decision. If anything, that he's just emboldened to use more of those.
The new 10% tariff, then, that he announces within 24 hours, how, if at all, does that impact Canada?
So it's the same thing. I think what he did is he rolled over, under the IEEPA, he gave us a compliance exception for goods that cross the border that comply with CUSMA. And he's basically rolled that over into the new 10% tariff. So some estimates show that the actual average tariff rate affecting Canada will decline by about 3.7%. I mean, there's a lot of numbers running around the place, but that's one that I've seen. So it's one of those things where actually Canadians are better off today because the IEEPA tariffs, which were set at a higher level, have been reduced to 10%, even if they go to 15%, because the estimate that I just gave you was based on it going to 15%, which he threatened on Saturday. So we're actually in a better position than we were before, although, as I said, it doesn't affect the tariffs that are really hurting us, which are those national security tariffs, which remain in effect.
How have those tariffs impacted us here in Canada, Mark?
Well, they have because we sell a lot of autos. A lot of our trade is to the United States is autos, a huge component of it. And within that, a lot of that trade also has to do with steel and aluminum that really go into the North American auto industry, even the U.S. auto industry. And that's what's been affected. So that's what's led to basically companies having a lot of uncertainty about where they're going to make their investment decisions. We've seen that in the automobile industry by Stellantis and General Motors. Some of that obviously has to do with the lack of popularity of EVs, lack of support for EVs by governments in the United States. Trump's government in particular. But a lot of it just has to do with the uncertainty around USMCA. You're going to fly to where you can be protected and face less uncertainty, and that's going to be on the side of the border with the biggest market, which of course is the United States when we're talking about North America.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford was on U.S. cable news just yesterday talking about the difficulties in dealing with somebody who seems to change his mind regularly or react daily. And one of the things that Premier Ford pointed out was the increases to inflation on citizens of the United States. And the Premier believes that U.S. residents will become very tired of this game because it's costing them more. I don't know that resonates with the president. I don't know if Ontario Premier Doug Ford is correct in that assertion. But what is the end game here, Mark?
Yeah, first I'd say the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous. But anyway, look, think about how we would react in Canada if some American politician went on the CBC or even the CTV or whatever and started saying, you Canadians don't know what's hurting you. This is hurting you. Your guy's hurting you. Get rid of that prime minister of yours. He's hurting you. You're stupid. You don't understand. He's hurting you. We wouldn't listen to that. So I've never understood this aspect of Canadian trade policy where people think that Canadian politicians going down to the United States and lecturing Americans about the inflation effects of tariffs is going to be productive. Now, that underpins so much of Canadian policy. I thought there was a day, not to be too wonkish about this, when that might have worked, and that was the day when we were dealing with Congresses that were relatively more protectionist than American presidents. So by lobbying publicly and lobbying in the districts, okay, not interfering in their politics, of course, but we're lobbying in their districts to get them to change their minds and to put the pressure on the president to change. But Trump is a whole new animal. This is a case where the president is the one who is more protectionist than Congress. And this is also a guy who gets very upset when you are seen to be publicly humiliating him. So I just think we're fighting the last war. And, I hate to say it, I'm one of the few people saying in Canada, I think Canada's got it all wrong. That will never work. The best test of this is softwood lumber, which has been a trade issue between Canada and the U.S. since the 80s, even before I went to law school in the 80s. Okay? It's been around. And since the 1980s, Canadian politicians have been going to the United States and saying, your prices of homes are going to increase because of all these duties on softwood lumber. And nobody listens. And nobody in Congress, no American president, they just keep on going with it. So you're going to have to sit down and we're going to have to sit down and negotiate with this guy, Trump, that is. And we're going to have to get a deal with him. But, interfering in American politics as we do, but we don't call it that. It seems if there's one president of the United States who won't tolerate that, it's Donald Trump.
Okay, you read my mind on that point, Mark, insofar as what Canada has to do. Sit down and negotiate with this guy. Because in 2016, the USMCA was the greatest trade agreement ever reached. Today, that is not the case, at least according to President Trump. So what are we going to have to do as a nation to get that new deal?
I sometimes feel like I'm the guy by the side of the river who's always been telling people that the water level's rising, and nobody's listening to me. But look, there are a lot of ways the USMCA, the CUSMA, is very much similar to the old NAFTA, but there were some major changes to it. And one of the major changes had to do with how you deal with China, particularly the rules of origin in autos, and specifically how you deal with goods or auto parts that come into Canada. And I always thought it was a huge mistake for Canada and Mexico to bring their very first dispute settlement case under USMCA to basically, as I always say, to try to get Chinese auto parts to be counted as Canadian or Mexican. And not even Joe Biden went along with that. The Americans lost the case in the dispute settlement panel, and even Biden refused to enforce it. So we know from what the Americans have said all along is one of the things they'll be looking for, in addition to the traditional arguments about dairy and other things that we do, one of the things they'll be looking for us is to align more closely with their policy on China, specifically on rules of origin, and not just with respect to autos. Now, that, of course, flies head in the face of Prime Minister Carney's new embrace of China. So one of the reasons I don't really understand what he was doing, because any kind of agreement of renewing the USMCA is going to require much more tightening on China. And he seems to be backing himself into a corner when it comes to that. But that's part of it. And so there are a bunch of other things, there are other irritants that have been irritants forever. I don't see Donald Trump as raising new trade issues with Canada. He's doing it with a lot more bluster, a lot more offensive ways, rhetoric. But the actual trade issues that the United States has with Canada are largely bipartisan, and they're largely known to Canada. So the question is it's going to take a lot more political capital, putting a lot more political capital at risk for any Canadian politician including the Prime Minister and including Doug Ford, to basically come back to Canada and try to sort of say, I'm going to make the following concessions. And I would think a lot of these concessions are concessions we'd have to make whether we were negotiating with Joe Biden or any Democrat, or we're negotiating with Donald Trump. And that's a harder argument to make in Canada. It's easier, it seems to me, to pound the drums and say we're not doing anything. And I don't know that that's going to work out very well. So I'm hoping that at some point we have a measure of leadership that's prepared to sit down and try to give him something that will make him go away, which is what pretty much every other country has tried to do.
I may join you on the side of that river, warning folks, Mark, that the water level is rising, okay?
Okay.
Really appreciate your perspective today. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Mark Warner is a trade lawyer and a senior international business and regulatory expert. So that Supreme Court decision, very little impact, if any, on Canada at all. The announcement the following day of sweeping 10% global tariffs actually puts us in a better position. We have to realize, in terms of the amount of taxation or tariff applied to Canadian goods, we have to remember what's been carved out under the existing USMCA, which is what they like to call it in the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, or CUSMA, as we call it here, the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. It's the same thing. It's the same document. The same principles are at play here. And we do have to find a way to renegotiate on this front. And we are going to have to do that with the current president of the United States. Midterms or no midterms, it's only midterm, which means Donald Trump is around for a while longer yet. And we best figure out a way to get to a table and negotiate with this man on a level that he understands and that hopefully is productive for us. Are we throwing that hissy fit here in Canada that Conservative MP Jamil Jivani accused us of doing when he spoke to American media? Are we actually in a stronger position here in Canada because Ontario Premier Doug Ford just spoke to American media and said, you American citizens, when you're facing increasing inflation because of these tariffs imposed by your president, this is costing you. You should be putting on pressure on your president to make a deal with Canada and stop the inflationary pressures on yourselves. As Mark Warner points out, that argument has been made many times, and not too many people in the States care to be lectured by Canadian politicians. What do you make of where we're at and the challenges that exist in dealing with a fellow leader like Donald Trump? Premier Ford, and I'll play you a little bit more audio in a moment, thinks that countries that rushed to make a deal are now paying a price because no deal right now is better than a bad deal. And Premier Ford thinks other countries, Japan included, have made bad deals with the United States. So we should just keep playing the waiting game, keep our elbows up here in Canada. Your thoughts always welcome. On the Mike Farwell Show, this is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
It's one of those things where actually Canadians are better off today because the IEEPA tariffs, which were set at a higher level, have been reduced to 10%, even if they go to 15%, because the estimate that I just gave you was based on it going to 15%, which he threatened on Saturday. So we're actually in a better position than we were before. Although, as I said, it doesn't affect the tariffs that are really hurting us, which are those national security tariffs, which remain in effect.
That is Mark Warner, who is a trade lawyer and an expert in international regulatory affairs, joining us to talk about U.S. President Donald Trump and the ongoing, tariffs. I believe he did say that's his favorite word, right? He loves the word tariffs, and ain't nothing turning him away, not even a Supreme Court decision against those tariffs, the initial imposition of them, under a small subsection like that. That's why we bring on experts like Mark Warner to explain this. That Supreme Court decision had virtually no impact on Canada. And the follow-up announcement of 10% global tariffs actually puts us in a better place in terms of the taxes imposed on goods that we are sending to the United States. Ontario Premier Doug Ford had more to say on this when he was asked about it at a media scrum just yesterday.
I believe in not rushing this deal. No deal is better than a bad deal. 2 examples. He said, countries getting screwed. Japan's a good example. UK is another good example. They all rushed in to get a deal, and all of a sudden he turned on them like a rattlesnake. So we're going to be very cautious, and that's a message to the federal government. Let's make sure we have a proper deal. Let's focus on sectors as well. So let's see, again, President Trump could come back and say, we're doing a bilateral deal, or he could say we're blowing up the deal, or he could say we're extending USMCA with some irritants that they have. Well, I've mentioned the federal government. Let's start putting our irritants. They say they have 27 irritants. Well, I'm sure I could come up with a few irritants ourselves. So it's very challenging right now. I just sit back some days, and I'm not the only one. Everyone in the world sits back, and how can one person, one man, create so much turmoil around the world? Not just here in Canada, around the world. It's pretty staggering. So I can't wait for the midterms.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford wants us to take a cautious approach, put our own irritants on the table, and anxiously awaits the midterms later this year. How are you feeling? Are you looking forward to the midterms as well? Jersey Bill on the phone with us. Good morning, Billy.
Of course, I'm looking forward to the midterms, being that I can vote in them.
And you are an avowed Democrat.
Yes, I am. And this is one thing that people aren't taking into account, and that is that as opposed to up here where the premier, prime minister, or the premier, as we just saw last year, could always call a snap election, down there the elections are on a cycle. So the important thing about the midterms, and I believe it will be a good year for the Democrats, and of course if they win, then there'll be finally a different place of power other than the president himself, and he'll have to negotiate with the Democrats from that point on if he wants to have any relevance at all. But the whole thing is, by this time next year, the presidential candidates are going to start to be coming out. The campaigns are going to have to, and they're going to be looking toward the first of the party debates to help determine who's going to be both the Republican and Democratic nominee. And once that happens, then the focus is going to be on who's going to be the next president, regardless of Trump getting behind somebody. In fact, if he's so unpopular, his endorsement at that point might not be worth very much. But at any rate, that's where starting, I would say not so much in February, but certainly by June, July, that whole focus is going to be on the next presidential race. It didn't used to be that case, but now that presidential cycle happens pretty much a few days after the midterms are over. So that's what we can look forward to, and how that's going to change Trump, I don't know, but definitely in terms of the whole idea of where the American, the whole gravity of American politics, it's going to start to weigh him down like a lump of rocks, I think. Who do
your Democrats favor? Who will they be bringing forward as a presidential nominee?
Oh, personally, I prefer people like Governor Beshear of Kentucky and, of course, Mark Kelly, who recently got in trouble because he stated that servicemen don't need to follow illegal orders, which actually was a good thing to say. I'd like people who would be more like toward the middle line of American politics. I think that's our best chance. Choosing the governor of Kentucky, who's won in what's called a red state for 2 consecutive terms, that would be a really thing. I think Beshear would have a lot more appeal to the center of the country, which has been a real problem for the Democrats in recent years, than say somebody like Newsom. I don't think we need another Californian or Massachusetts person.
All right. Thanks, Billy. Appreciate the input. I wondered about Gavin Newsom, and I would tend to agree that you may not want to be so far left of the center. And if you're looking centrist, maybe you look at how successful, I would argue, Mark Carney was in terms of going to the center and changing things for the Liberal Party here in Canada. All right, we have to get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then, do we still need school board trustees? Our education minister here in the province is signaling no. What do you think? We'll talk about it next on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. You may have heard the signals, the hints from our education minister here in Ontario, Paul Calandra, that school board trustees may one day, perhaps soon, be a thing of the past. Other provinces have attempted this. I believe it was Manitoba that eliminated trustees, then brought them back. But nonetheless, there are signals here in Ontario that school board trustees may soon lose their positions, and there will be some sort of provincial authority that manages all things education, which, frankly, the education ministry basically does now anyway. School boards aren't responsible for as much as they once were. Nonetheless, we know, I think it's up to 7 now, that school boards that the province has taken over because of various concerns around management or mismanagement of those boards, especially when it comes to finances. However, here in the region, one of our public school board trustees brought forward a motion asking for a referendum or some sort of formal province-wide consultation process be undertaken before we eliminate school board trustees. That trustee is the public board's Cindy Watson, who joins the show this morning. Cindy, good morning.
Good morning.
Why do you want this referendum?
Well, I think that that's the only fair thing. I mean, you made a comment that basically trustees really don't have a lot of power today. And I want to say, actually, at the local level, we are, 24/7 getting calls from parents with concerns when communication breaks down. So we deal with a lot of issues that parents have. If you have a child with special needs or bullying or lots of sorts of issues that happen at the school level. And we also bring policies for the local level. And it's when we can advocate for parents. That the ministry is not even talking about that. What are they going to do for parents? And so this motion is about empowering parents that they get a say in what kind of governance model, and they may choose a model that none of us have thought about. So at the end of the day, the ones who are going to get impacted the most, and those are the parents calling on a Friday before a weekend because something has happened, these are the parents that their voices deserve to be heard, especially when we consider, today, in our day and age, they should have something to say.
The province has talked about, or in fact has implemented those liaison offices. Would that office not function in the same manner?
They're not actually a liaison office. They are where the parents would bring their complaints. So, typically the board will say no to a situation, or there's a breakdown in communication, and that's when they go to their locally elected person. But what the ministry has decided is they're going to send parents right back to the people who said no. So there's no appeal process. There's no recourse for parents. They're just sending them right back to, that's where we come in. So they won't have a local advocate. They're not going to have someone who's going to bring their issue to the board table to discuss whether it can be a whole number of issues. And there have been a number of issues over the last 26 years that I have been there. And so, there won't be a board table. So really, when I look at it, it's just eliminating the trustee role. The Ministry of Education, they get more power. The school boards get more power, and the parents get nothing.
Can you share an example, Cindy, of when an issue was brought forward to our board here in the region and then it was successfully implemented in the classroom?
Okay, so when the school board decided they were going to take over extended day, and so there was a swell of parents upset. We kept bringing it back to the table. Daycares were upset. Parents were paying more for less services, and I'm sure you probably remember that. And finally, we came up with a model, but there was a lot of advocacy that went into that. But there are a number of issues. There are. I remember when I first got on the board, the first issue that I dealt with was a school that parents were complaining that there were smells in the basement. And so, I kept bringing it back to the table, and the city went and they did their investigation. They put a smoke bomb in the sewers, and the basement lit up with smoke, which resulted in making the repairs. So, when you look at our policies, whether it's shade policy, whether bringing naloxone kits into school, we just, recently just passed a motion to track evacuations. There are like a number of local issues that they will fall by the wayside. You cannot run a school board from Queen's Park. You just can't. And you can't meet all the individual needs, just by saying, okay, well, here's a complaint office calling your complaint. There's no appeal process. There's no recourse. So my hope is that the ministry will do broad consultation, talk to parents, and they may come up with a model that doesn't include trustees, but gives them some power. Because right now, I don't see them getting anything or benefiting in any way. They're talking to an employee. They're not talking to an elected official that works for them.
I'm sure you've heard, Cindy, the criticisms of school boards province-wide when it comes to the challenges that they face internally, because there seems to be infighting. And I would submit to you that our public school board is no exception to that. And I think it's eroded some of the trust in the school board system. How effective do you feel our school board is at getting things done today?
Well, I agree with you, and there are lots of challenges with the province, namely Queen's Park. Let's look at Ottawa, but nobody's putting them on the chopping block. So if you bring a group of people together that feel passionately about their position, you should expect that there's going to be vigorous debate. You should expect that. If not, if you don't expect that and you expect everyone to get along and you're looking at a club. You're not looking at elected individuals. I want to make sure that parents are given some authority, some control, and it's not just them. We receive calls from staff as well. It just, when you take away that layer of advocacy, that layer of, we usually push back on the ministry if, parents are upset with something coming down from them, that's going to be gone. There will be just this pipeline. The ministry will just give the information to the school boards, and the school boards will implement it. And by the way, all of the, you mentioned that there are, arguments and that sort of thing. A lot of the identity politics and ideologies have come from the ministry. And yet then they point the finger and say, well, why is there disagreement? Because we have parents who are pushing back on it. We bring their voice to the table. That is our job. That is what an advocate does.
One of the things in the news recently is the inability for our public board, of which you are a member, and our Catholic board to not align their PD days for the upcoming year, which is going to cost about $300,000 more total in transportation costs, about $200,000 of which comes from the public board. What is the reason behind the inability to align PD days? Why can't we do that?
Because they're two separate boards, and they have they're alike, but they also have individuality. And so the student transportation, that's an arm's length. That's trustees. That is an arm's length organization. And they're, we can't tell them. It's an arm's length from the Ministry of Education. We can't tell them, well, align this. The school board tries to align it as perfectly as they can, but this is not the first year that this has happened. So when you are trying to coordinate the Catholic board and the public board, but they're individual boards, you're going to have this.
Right. I understand it's not the first time it's happened, but, we cry poor at the school board level all the time. How can we not just look at each other and say, listen, we can't spend another $300,000, so we're all going to have our PD days on the same day? That I don't understand how we can't agree on that.
We don't have the authority to tell the Catholic board what they should do. They have their individual identity.
Well, but then why don't you just move your board days then to align with theirs? Like some way, Cindy, this has got to be possible from where I'm sitting.
Well, it's a challenge, and that's when you're sharing transportation between two different boards. I know everyone wants, just the answer to every single problem, but sometimes there has to be a compromise.
Are you comfortable with the $200,000 extra it's going to cost your board?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But, this is how the ministry has set it up. So we're not just an individual board. Both of our transportation models are entwined.
So the fact that you brought forward this motion indicates to me that you might be hearing things other than what I've been hearing from Paul Calandra, our education minister. I mean, what is it that you're hearing that concerns you? Do you think that the plan is to eliminate trustees?
I absolutely do. I think that, the comment made in the articles, and I don't have it in front of me, I don't have the exact quote, but when he said, when we look at the 7 models, or the 7 boards that are taken over, and the streamlining of the governance, and that it brings outcomes for students, I have no evidence of that. I asked the question at the board meeting, positive outcomes for students. Okay, where's the data? Here's a Ministry of Education that insists that we make evidence-based decisions, and they're saying that they have positive outcomes, but I asked the question, does anyone read an article? Does anyone have any information? We don't have any data that proves. We just know that they've taken over 7 school boards. We don't have a lot of information, and we certainly don't have any information about positive student outcomes. So, I'd be happy to receive that sort of information.
Cindy, I appreciate you speaking up for parents and making time on the show today. Thanks for being here.
Oh, no problem. Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye now. Cindy Watson is a school board trustee with our Waterloo Region District School Board, our public school board. She is clearly, as she points out, concerned that our education ministry here in Ontario intends on eliminating the role of school board trustee. And Trustee Watson believes that's going to take away an important voice for parents in the community. I certainly understand that argument. I'm not sure that I have seen it, but I might not be paying enough attention. And that's just me. So I would love to hear from you if there has been an instance whereby you needed the support of a trustee and you were able to obtain that support. Or maybe you, like me, feel as though this level of local governance, and I'm a fan of local, I am. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure that school board trustees are required in the modern day simply because they don't set curriculum, they don't impose taxes on the community anymore. Like, so much has been stripped away that virtually everything is delivered by the province anyway. So I feel as though there's a redundancy to it, but that's just me. And as you may have gleaned from that conversation, it really chafes my chaps. Like, it really chafes my chaps that these two boards cannot decide that they are taking PD days at the same time next year. Because it's going to, like, Why would you not care about the almost $300,000 extra that you're spending? Simply because you can't take all the same Fridays off for professional development next year? Like, what on earth could be the barrier to doing that? I cannot understand. I cannot understand. If you cared about the money, about how much you spend, all we hear time and time again, underfunding, 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 underfunding. And then you go and whiz away $300K. Okay, but you can't make that make sense to me. I always get to share my position with you, and then I invite you to share your position with me. Would love to hear from you on the role of your school board trustee. Is it a role that you value, that we still need, or could we do without that layer of governance? Your thoughts. We'll take your calls after this on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
This motion is about empowering parents that they get a say in what kind of governance model, and they may choose a model that none of us have thought about. At the end of the day, the ones who are going to get impacted the most, and those are the parents calling on a Friday before a weekend because something has happened. These are the parents that their voices deserve to be heard, especially when we consider today, in our day and age, they should have something to say.
Cindy Watson is a public school board trustee. She is asking for a referendum, a consultation process before the province does away with school board trustees. There are signals that the province will. Nothing is certain, but there have been hints that maybe, just maybe, this layer of governance will disappear. What do you think of the role of the school board trustee? Willie, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you today?
Well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good. Farwell Force number 1701.
I love hearing it. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Thank you. I'm well past the age of having kids in school and having thoughts on stuff like that, but I'm going to approach it from the practical side. We're spending an extra $200,000 or $300,000, whatever the number is, on busing because we can't get schedules to line up on the same day. If the trustees had to pay for that money out of their own pocket, do you think they possibly could figure out a way to pick the same Fridays? Great question.
Great question.
You know, we have all these people that are governing us, and my dad had a phrase once that stuck with me my whole life. It's really easy to spend other people's money, but it's a lot harder when you got to spend your own.
Amen.
And I wish everybody thought like that was spending our public money.
It's a great point, Willie. Appreciate you weighing in today.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
Bye.
You too. I don't know if I heard it from Willie's dad, but I heard the same thing. I've often repeated it. The easiest money to spend is other people's money. Marino, another Farwell's Force member, number 66. Good morning.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good, thanks. And you?
Good. Full disclosure, trustee for 36 years here in Wellington Catholic, provincial president of the Trustee Association, and also former national president of the Trustee Association. You wanted examples of where trustees can do work. I can give you a really good one. Just a couple of years ago here in Guelph, we had a school that was overpopulated, needed to do something. Another one that was underused. So the ministry sets up a process that you have to go through. You set up a committee, parent involvement, involve the schools, principals of the schools involved, trustees, etc. And they have to have public meetings, and then the decision comes for final decision to the board. Do you really think that the ministry is going to take that over if down the road there are no trustees, and it can happen at any of the boards? That's the type of work that trustees do every single day, and there's no way the ministry would ever go to that extent to solve a problem.
So we need that local level clearly in your mind.
Absolutely. That's where the parents go. That's their first level of contact, is the local elected trustee. And even for minor issues, we just had a minor issue the other day that involved the school and a speech contest at the school. The first place that the parents go to is the trustees. We brought it to administration, and it was resolved the next day.
Marino, thanks for weighing in. I appreciate it.
Okay, Mike, thanks. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. Good to hear from you today. We'll squeeze in one more before news. Joe, good morning.
Morning, Mike. Yeah, let's get rid of the Scott Piakowskis of the world once and for all. And I hope he pays through the nose for that settlement with poor Carolyn Berjowski. And Mike, you had that counselor or the trustee on your show, and you asked her a direct question. Do you think you get a straight answer as to why you can't align the PD days? No, that is just a function of total ineptitude. They can't can't organize a free lunch, okay? Let's get rid of them all and save ourselves millions of dollars every year. They're useless, and we don't need them.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Joe. I don't know that it would save millions. And if there is an individual trustee with whom you take issue, remember whether the province eliminates them or not. Well, if the province eliminates them, then the problem is solved for you. If the province does not eliminate them, you can make choices in the upcoming election. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, as you no doubt know, it's been a rather tense 48 hours or so in Mexico. Tensions seem to be easing somewhat as flights today will be returning to Puerto Vallarta, but things flared up over the weekend when a military raid took the life of a man known as El Mencho, the leader of one of the drug cartels in Mexico. Juan Pablo Luna is a professor and Diamond Brown chair in the Department of Political Science at McGill University. Joins us to talk more about it. Juan Pablo, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much for making the time to shed some perspective on this issue. Some have said with El Mencho's death, the cartel has been beheaded. Is that the case?
Yeah, that seems to be the case. I mean, this is to get the background here. I mean, this is a very wide-ranging cartel. It has operations in many states. In Mexico, is probably today the strongest one. But it has grown out of a system that is similar to a franchise, a commercial franchise in which you negotiate with different local groups and incorporate them into a cartel. And now, since El Mencho doesn't seem to have a clear successor, what we are going to see in the coming weeks and months and probably years is probably infighting within different fractions of the cartel to get control of the organization operations.
Is that why we would have seen the flare-up in violence that we saw after his death? Because maybe there's a message being sent and this infighting positioning is already beginning?
Yeah, I mean, there are two kinds of messages that get mixed in this type of situations. I mean, one, it's an internal message, right, in which different groups that control specific localities try to show to their gang colleagues that they are strong to react. And also there is obviously a reaction to Mexico's government action of beheading the cartel, right? I mean, and I think that what we are seeing has a bit of both things in it.
What are the political tensions that exist in Mexico that has led to the rise of these cartels and the ongoing battles between government and cartel?
Well, I mean, this traces back very long. And I think it's good to start from 2006, where Felipe Calderón started what was called the war on drugs and Mexico's war on drugs. The strong hand policy against the cartels started to fragment and to beheaded many of the old cartels and started to fragment and atomize cartel activities. Out from that, you have two main organizations or federations of drug dealing organizations that strengthened over time, which is the Sinaloa cartel with El Chapo Guzman and now the Chapitos, and that's again, I mean, subject to internally fighting these days. And then the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel, which is the one that was led by El Mencho, starting to and strengthening over the last decade and becoming a major player, not only in Mexico, but worldwide, particularly in terms of the export and the production and export of synthetic drugs. So in the last term, López Obrador had a different policy that came to be known as abrazos no balazos, which meant hugs instead of bullets. and try to accommodate like in a more negotiated manner with the cartels. Claudia Sheinbaum, I'm sorry, the current president is a heir to AMLO. But what this means, that Sunday operation means in terms of like the internal politics, is a stretch in terms of Sheinbaum's policies against the cartel, signaling came back to a strong hand and to mano dura policies against these organizations. And this is likely to have been triggered by Donald Trump's pressure on Mexico to go after the major organizations that were leading in the traffic to the U.S.
Who's really in charge here, Juan Paulo? Cartels or the government in Mexico?
Well, I mean, the situation it's very complex, as you surely know and anticipate. Many of these organizations, I would say all of these organizations, deals with local police forces, with local leaders, and some of them with national leaders. So we tend to think of this like scenarios are good versus evil, and like government versus illegal organizations, whereas what you have here is a gray zone in which the legal and the illegal get co-constituted and function together in very complex ways, right? So it's very difficult to say who is really in control. Part of the strength of the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel had to do with the fact that they originated as a paramilitary force that, in conjunction with like political authorities and with state authorities, was able to monopolize violence through very violent means, and through that and doing that, it kind of pacified the territory and essentially created some order, right? And I mean, who rules in those type of scenarios? It's a difficult thing to determine. And what's we are probably going to see now is more disorder, more violence, more confrontations, because that monopoly of coercion that the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel was pivotal in terms of like creating, came under stress after this Sunday operation.
You mentioned that the violence we are likely to see continuing. There's the initial message sent. Now there will be the sort of jockeying for position and control of that cartel. Does the death of El Mencho in any way, Juan Pablo, make a dent in the drug trade?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, this is a market, and whenever there is demand for these goods that the market mobilizes, there will be supply, right? And so the extractors might change. The nature of the organizations could eventually see some changes. But as far as you have a demand for the drugs being channeled through these organizations, you behave organizations, you eventually get rid of, but new organizations come up and fill that vacuum, right? That's what we have learned over the years. And also, I mean, another important lesson that like cases such as Mexico, but also Brazil, Colombia, put on the table is that whenever you go with this kind of like a strong hand policies, essentially you do two things. One is violence spirals, and because you have all this infighting and the fights between the cartels and the state as well, but also corruption spirals, because state officials that can pass information into the cartels and can collaborate with the cartels and get bought by the cartels, can extract more money from the illegal organizations for selling information that it's more crucial, given that the state is going with a strong hand against them. So there is no easy solution to this. There is no silver bullets. And what governments have to struggle with is how to contain violence, create some order, while also having to deal with this corruption and the penetration by these cartels of political institutions, of justice system institutions, and so on. So this will continue. It's a very difficult situation to get out of, and there are no easy solutions, and those solutions do not have to do with the behavior of these organizations.
Juan Pablo, it's great to get your perspective on the show today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Juan Pablo Luna is a professor and Diamond Brown Chair in the Department of Political Science at McGill University. And that last point, boy, does that resonate with me. There are two things that happen when the head of a cartel like this is taken out. One is a spiral of violence, and we've already seen that, although the tensions seem to be easing somewhat today, and flights are once again returning to Puerto Vallarta. But we saw that escalation of violence immediately. And then there is that spiral of corruption, because those who would be inclined to provide that necessary information to cartels to allow them to continue doing what they're doing can extract even more money for the information that they are providing to those cartels. It takes me back. It takes me back. I often refer to Gordon Gekko from Wall Street, Michael Douglas's character, right? Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. I could also go, I guess, to money is the root of all evil, because clearly, and Juan Pablo Luna made reference to this as well, there is a market for these synthetic drugs. And as long as there is a market for these drugs, there will be cartels operating to fill the demand in that market, because the market means money. Now, here is something else to consider in all of this, and I'll take you back to the beginning of the show. If you were with us then, you heard Andre's call. If you weren't, I'll paraphrase, but Andre talked about his concern. He says he likes staying home because it's safe here. And when he hears about these issues in Mexico, it makes him less inclined to travel. We've got issues in Cuba right now. I mentioned that during the Farwell Show 5 this morning at the beginning of the show. And the ambassador to Cuba will be appearing before a committee on Parliament Hill in Ottawa today, as Canada considers its response to support Cubans. But we've got problems in parts of the world that lead to concern in our part of the world. Here is something important to keep in mind when it comes to that. And I heard it put this way the other day, and the email I will share with you reinforces this. But asking somebody in Mexico today about the impact that the death of El Mencho is having on them is like, in some cases, asking somebody in Vancouver about a problem that's happening in Newfoundland. That's how far removed they may be from the issue. And that's the case when I reached out to my friends Alan and Shirley, who I know are in Playa del Carmen. I know that because when we do Kitchener Rangers broadcasts here on 570 News Radio, we call out to our long-distance listeners, and they send us emails letting us know where they are listening from. And Alan and Shirley are regularly listening to our Kitchener Rangers games from Playa del Carmen. So I reached out and said, hey, because geography, not my strong suit. And Shirley's response to my email, mike@570news.com, says, no, none of this is impacting us. Everything seems normal here, at least where we are. We are in a gated community next to Playa del Carmen. I just went to the bank and the grocery store, and saw nothing unusual. We are on the east or Caribbean side of Mexico, whereas Puerto Vallarta is on the Pacific side, about 2,400 kilometers from us. I also asked my son, whose partner is Mexican, and this was his response. They, by the way, are currently over in England. But the response is, it's terrible what is happening over there. I spoke with Maria, and it will not affect us as they don't operate in Playa, but it's still not good for the country. So from our viewpoint, all is good here, at least at the moment. People need to know it's scary what's happening, but it's not happening everywhere. And thanks for checking on us. So that's what you get 2,400 kilometers away, Playa del Carmen, from the area near to Puerto Vallarta, where this is having its greatest impact. A little bit more perspective on the goings-on, should you be so inclined to still visit Mexico. And I wonder if you are in the wake of this, or Cuba, or take your pick of places in the world. Do you feel like Andre does? A whole lot safer at home, and you're not as adventurous, perhaps, as you once were, given the state of the world today? Is it changing anything for you? We'll take your calls right after this on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
We are probably going to see now is more disorder, more violence, more confrontations, because that monopoly of coercion that the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel was pivotal in terms of creating came under stress after this Sunday operation.
That is Juan Pablo Luna, who's a professor and Diamond Brown chair in the Department of Political Science at McGill University. Joins us this morning to shed some light on the violence in Mexico after the elimination of the man known as El Mencho, who led one of the drug cartels. But Juan Pablo Luna tells us two things tend to happen when something like this happens, and that is a spiral of violence and a spiral of corruption. How do you feel about the state of the world and your place in it? Are you as adventurous when it comes to traveling outside of your own safe community at this point? Let's go to the phones, get your thoughts. Rich, good morning.
Well, good morning, Mike. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. I wanted to comment on the school board issue. I have a great respect for Cindy Watson, but I was really, really disappointed in her response. Look, the ministry approves the year calendar. If the Waterloo Board wanted to, they could simply align their calendar with the Catholic Board. Very, very simple. The PD days could align. But there's a bigger issue. And I have to say, there have been many, many good trustees over the years. I think of people like John Enns, Harold Paisley, and others. And as a department head of mathematics, I enjoyed the help and the support of superintendents and trustees over the years. But look, things have changed. I think the trustees have abused the trust that we put in them. I think of the Carolyn Brzezinski case. We still don't know how much that cost us. The act of throwing Mike Ramsey off the board for the last 3 months when he was elected. And, of course, we now know the story behind that through that Freedom of Information release. You ask yourself, what's going on? The money that was spent with the director. And at one point over the last couple of years, believe it or not, elementary teachers were told they could not have their students participate in the math and computer contests out of Waterloo. You shake your head. But this is the past. Solutions, I have two of them. Number one, complete transparency. We need to rip the scab of secrecy off these dealings. We need to have the numbers, because indeed, since they do represent us, we have a right to know the information. My second solution is a little more radical. It involves letting people vote with their feet. That is, you allow parents, grandparents, voters to direct their taxes to the schools and the boards that reflect their values. That means you now have school-level trustees, and maybe that returns some of the accountability back to the public. Because right now, it would appear that the trustees are tone deaf. And this is a phenomenon of the last 15 years, and it's very, very sad. Mike, something radical has to be done. Removing trustees, I think, is an extreme because we need that link, but we also need the trustees to be trusted and to be responsive to what they hear And the events of the last couple of years, and I think of the Burjasi case and the Ramsey case, I'm afraid that just didn't happen. Anyway, those are my two suggestions. Again, very, very disappointed in Cindy's response. I have a lot of respect for her, but she dodged the question. The calendar issue can be dealt with very, very simply. The board simply gives in and aligns with the Catholic board, period.
All right.
Anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to comment, Mike.
Thanks, Rich. I appreciate the call. Good to hear from you today. Even though we switched gears a little bit, you're passionate about that. I'm here to hear your passion. And I don't disagree. How easy it should be to align calendars for PD days and the unfortunate answer we got when I asked the question about it. Rich is right. We could follow so many trails of money that I think has been wasted by our public board in particular. I'll just say this again. I've said it before. This is an election year. If trustees will remain in place and we're voting again on school board trustees, vote the bums out. Period. Full stop on our public board. It's the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. As you have no doubt heard, there are changes coming to the way that we manage Ontario's Student Assistant Program, or OSAP, and tuition, of course. The 7-year tuition freeze is coming to an end, which means post-secondary institutions will be able to charge higher tuition in part of an ongoing effort to increase their funding and make them more sustainable. And when it comes to OSAP, there will be less given in the way of grants and more given in the way of repayable loans. As you might expect, all of this news is not exactly landing well with the students themselves, some of whom say they are being punished for being poor. And there are some schools expressing concern that finances will be a barrier to finding the next great student who might go on to be the next great brain surgeon, rocket scientist, carpenter. I haven't the foggiest, but there are concerns, obviously, from the student and student union side of this, that you are going to be increasing the debt loads that students are carrying with them out of school. And at the front of that conversation, you might be putting a barrier in front of students from even getting into the school because those grants are no longer available. We really, and I do mean really, that's why I emphasized it, wanted to give students a voice in this. However, despite our best efforts, unable to get any of the student unions or associations amalgamated enough to find time to join us on the show this morning. But again, I think you can understand where the concern would come from and what those concerns are. They will be paying more, and if they are going through school, they will be carrying more debt when school is done. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has answered directly to this. He held a rather informal scrum or media conference outside his office at Queen's Park yesterday, and our Queen's Park bureau chief, Richard Southern, was the first to bring up the issue. This is the same media conference where Doug Ford was talking about Donald Trump and the challenges of dealing with a president or a leader like Donald Trump. And then the first voice you will hear on this clip I'm about to play is that of Richard Southern, our Queen's Park bureau chief, pressing the Premier on these changes to education in Ontario. Yes, funding is being increased for colleges and universities. You'll hear Premier Ford talk about it and repeat it a number of times to the tune of $7 billion. However, it is largely coming on the backs of students. And I don't think the Premier wants to hear those arguments, as you will hear right now.
Premier, we've heard from a lot of students in recent days about OSAP, and they've taken aim at your charge that their family is making $250,000. They said they wouldn't even qualify if that was the case. They say they're not making, day basket weaving courses, but they are worried about affording their post-secondary schooling under these changes. Have you heard from them, and are you going to change your mind on this?
Yeah, no, I've heard from a lot of students messaging me, and I appreciate their messages. Some are pretty nasty, but some are very professional, and this comes down to, we've invested a record amount in the country, in the province, never been invested to a tune of $7 billion. I'm going to repeat that number, $7 billion each and every single year moving forward. We're investing into our colleges and universities. But, when you take a course, you have to look at in-demand jobs, something that we can drive our economy. And it's not a God-given right to take taxpayers' money. It's a God-given right to get your college degree and university, but you can't come back to the taxpayers and say, yes, I got a lot of baskets, by the way, message to me, but people thought I was joking. There's actually a basket weaving course at Carleton. And when I tell people that, and I talk to a lot of people, they said, no, we aren't in favor of funding that. People want to see a return on their investment. Focus on in-demand jobs because we need you. You're the next generation. And yes, you have the right. God bless you. You want to pick any course, go for it. But don't come out, 3 or 4 years later and say, well, I don't have a job. Well, very simple. You didn't focus on, key economic growth areas.
Premier, sorry, just to follow up, what is in demand when you have these?
In demand, I'll tell you what's in demand off the top of our head. Trades are one of them. Healthcare is another. Engineering is another. Nuclear, critical minerals, just to name a few. Manufacturing. And it's funny, when I get these messages, I look through it and I'm thinking, I'd hire this one, I wouldn't hire this one. Hire this one, wouldn't hire that one. It's very, very simple. Folks, you can go to school, and I'm the biggest opponent of go out and get an education. Get a college degree, get a university degree, get a skilled trades degree, and go out there. It's the lightest luggage you're ever going to carry.
Is making sure you get wipe out half of all office jobs.
It's expensive to take in school, and this is already deterring students from pursuing higher.
Well, let's look at where we're at in the country, right? We're middle of the pack. We're more generous than BC. We're more generous than Alberta. We're more generous than Saskatchewan because you have to look at across the country. We're middle of the pack right now. We're investing a tremendous amount into the colleges and universities. Again, $7 billion. It's not like we're cutting investments in colleges. We're doing the total opposite. We're investing more money to make sure we stabilize the sector. And I just encourage every single student, make sure you look at, core economic priorities of the country, core economic priorities of the province. You are taking tax dollars and you have to be held accountable when you take tax dollars. It's not a freebie anymore. Money doesn't grow on trees. So we're still going to take care of the most vulnerable. And it's not just us. Let's look at the federal government on the international students. That threw a hand grenade in the whole system. That was a disaster as far as I'm concerned. And then you have to look at the colleges and universities. They have many grants. They have many scholarships available since we've given them more money. And yes, the feds still have some opportunities to get funding. We have opportunities to get funding. So I just encourage everyone, go to college, go to university, skilled trades, and maybe some kids aren't cut out for it. Go out there and find gainful employment. There's still gainful employment out there in certain sectors. I hear it every day from employers. You got to look at it as an investment in their education, which we're investing in our education. We're still subsidizing colleges by $7 billion. But you got to go out there, and if you get an in-demand job, keep in mind you won't have to pay back the loan for 4 years, and then 6 months after you don't have to pay it back. But get a job. Get an education that you can get a job. If you get an education that there's no jobs out there, this is a no-brainer. So focus on that, and you'll be able to pay back any loans. Folks, let's keep in mind, we still have one of the lowest education costs anywhere in North America, anywhere. And we're comparable, again, the middle of the pack of all the other provinces. We're equal to Manitoba. So
Last question.
Yeah, no, I'm going to continue sitting down with my minister and seeing any way we can to help the students. I appreciate the students, and again, they're going to be our future. So I want them to be focused on key economic drivers. It's pretty common sense that if you want to get a job when you get out of college or university, focus on where you see in-demand jobs. That's what we need to focus on.
That's what the Premier wants us to focus on, in-demand jobs. And you don't have a God-given right to taxpayers' money, says Ontario Premier Doug Ford, to students or prospective students. Taxpayers' money being, in the Premier's eyes, what would have been awarded previously in grants. You can still get student assistance by way of loan, but the grants will be fewer. And if you want to be able to pay back that loan, then make sure you go and get an in-demand job. What do you make of the Premier's comments that students must be accountable for the taxpayer money that they are receiving, that we are funding, or we have, because of the subsidization, some of the lowest costs for education in all of North America, as the Premier just asserted? I've told you before that I'm open to, it's kind of like the conversation that came up yesterday on the show about term limits in political office. I'm so close to the middle of all of that. I lean towards yes to term limits, but you brought up some really interesting arguments yesterday against the idea. What about free tuition? That happens in some parts of the world, and there's a part of me, like, I'm open to that conversation too. I'm almost right on the middle of that. And I don't mean to be, it doesn't serve me well in this job to be in the middle of anything. But in this case, I am, because I think to myself, okay, well, we want a well-educated workforce of the future. Shouldn't we invest in that up front? The other side of the coin, of course, is if you don't put a value on it, then it's not perceived to be as important, right? So that's why I'm kind of in the middle of all of that. But bigger picture here, I don't know that I'm entirely in disagreement with the Premier on this point. And by that, I mean, listen, yes, you carry some debt when you come out of school. Most of us didn't we? And then you pay that, but you've earned yourself an education, which should put you at and the research bears this out, right? If you carry that post-secondary degree or diploma, you earn more than your average bear in the workforce. So you make that investment in yourself. Yes, you carry that debt with you out of school, and then you pay it back because you will be better paid in the workforce. Is that so wrong? And this is from a guy whose degree is in liberal arts. Let that just sink in for a moment. So I know it was different times. When I was a wee lad going through this, and probably different times for you too. Maybe you're in the midst of these times. Maybe you're still carrying that student debt. Where do you land on this? Are we moving in the right direction? More loans, fewer grants, $7 billion injected into the post-secondary system. Just get a job where there's demand. We'll take your calls right after this on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says, you students, you people, have to be accountable to taxpayers. There's no God-given right to taxpayer money in the form of grants for your education. There will be loans available, but fewer grants. And by the way, your tuition is going up. What do you need to do, students? Get a job for an in-demand career, and then you'll earn the money to pay back the loans that you carry when you graduate. As you can imagine, this is not exactly landing well with student unions across the province, including right here in the region. A student at the University of Guelph that we tried to reach for our conversation this morning is building a debt wall showing how much debt students are carrying in this province. 519-570-2545, star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. Where do you land on this? Is the premier right? Just get an in-demand job. Here's your loan. You'll carry some debt, but with that in-demand job, you'll pay it off. You have no God-given right to taxpayer money. You do have a right to the education, which the premier says is among the least expensive in North America. Nathan sends me an email to Mike at 570news.com, says, man, is Doug Ford tone deaf. People won't be taking nuclear engineering or trades degrees if they can't afford it. I have a friend who is a computer software engineer. That's an important job, right? They couldn't get a job for 2 years after they finished school. How can someone predict what jobs are going to be in demand 4+ years after they finish school? Then having all that extra loan money to pay back after because they're getting rid of so many loans or so many grants. Absolutely ridiculous. His assumption is that everyone is taking arts degrees, which is simply not the case. Besides that, is he saying arts degrees are unimportant? Seems like a decision that will come back to bite the province or country years into the future and is only going to hurt students now. Yes, free tuition, please. That email from Nathan. Let's go to the phones here from Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Mike, you know what I used to do with my money? Every Friday, Saturday, beer. That's what I would do. That's what I used to do.
I know.
Back then.
We used to joke that it was the car stereo fund.
There you go.
Yeah. The Ontario Stereo Assistant Fund.
I'm just saying, you know, like I know what everybody is thinking about, but it truly a lot of the money that goes to Bolson's and Labatt's. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Again, I'm going to acknowledge my status here as the old guy in the room because I am. Things are absolutely different now than they were when I was a kid. But as was brought up yesterday on the show, when I mentioned that I got a very well-paying summer job that helped me pay the entirety of my tuition for the year ahead. And I got an email from Linda said, how in HE double hockey sticks did you pull that off? She said minimum wage was like $7 an hour in the 1990s when you were going to school. Fair point. And see, that's the thing. Minimum wage today, almost $18 an hour. So it's all relative. Yes, tuition's higher, but even minimum wage is higher. And I had a great landscaping job that I would even start in April before my studies were done. When it got into exam time, I would squeeze in as much time as I could. And then as soon as I was done school, that's it. I was in the truck every morning at 7 a.m., sometimes in busy season when the weather was good, because in landscaping, you got to make hay while the sun shines, right? We'd go in and do Saturdays as well. And we start at 7 in the morning, and some days we'd go until dusk. Most days we'd end around 6. But again, make hay while the sun shines, busy season, you stay out there later. And I made buckets of money. There was part of me that thought, geez, you know what? There's pretty good living. I don't know what I'm going to do in the winter, but I'll keep doing this in the summer, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, back to the phones. Patrick, good morning.
Good morning. My thing is, I have 3 kids, right? And I'm the first one in my family on my side to ever graduate college, and I couldn't have done it without grants. My 3 kids, I'm disabled, so I can't really afford to pay. But OSAP is based off of my credit rating. So my oldest right now, he's already applied to university, and he's going to be going to Alberta because I can't, based off my credit rating, I can't afford to. He can't get OSAP. So the grants, if he cuts that, it's not the kids getting taxpayers' money. It's the taxpayers who are using their money that they've paid.
Sorry, say that again?
So when my kids applied for OSAP,
Yeah,
there's a section.
That happened to me too, because it was the same thing for me. I was ineligible because of what my parents earned or what their credit rating was, and they didn't give me any money for school, so I had to figure it out. So what do you mean it's the taxpayers using their money?
So Ford says that the kids aren't entitled to the taxpayers' money for school?
Right.
Well, I paid my taxes. Why can't my kids use the money I paid?
Thank you. My apologies for misunderstanding. That's a very good point by you, Patrick. Very good point. All right. Thanks for the call. And furthermore, those kids are off to the big skies of Alberta to pursue their post-secondary education. And how many times have we heard about folks who come here because we are a post-secondary community and then fall in love with the region of Waterloo and stay? Is it possible that we now have lost a potential future leader, engineer, tradesperson because they went to school in Alberta? They're like, I like these mountain views and these Chinooks if they're in Calgary, whatever the case may be. I don't know. At first blush, I'm kind of on Team Ford here, but I think Patrick makes an excellent point in all of this. And to Chris's point earlier, I know lots of people who use their OSAP for lots of things other than paying for their tuition. That is absolutely true. I know times have changed in the, 30 plus years now since I started at school, but a lot of my classmates were using their OSAP for a lot of things other than tuition. I'm going to get you an update from the 570 News Center, and then we're going to talk about something that I will never say never. I will never, ever do. People better than me are going to do this thing, and they're doing it for a very good reason. And we'll tell you why coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I mentioned before that update with Matt that our next conversation would be about something that I will never do. Even though I have been told to never say never, I will never do this. I'm on record as saying I will never do it. People far better than me will do it, and they will do it for a very good cause. The thing that they are doing is a polar plunge. It's going to happen on March the 7th. It is the 8th annual in support of Special Olympics Ontario. And Waterloo Regional Police is the service behind it. Chief Mark Crowell joins me in studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
It's not often that the police chief gets overshadowed, but today he is very much overshadowed by the decorated special athlete we have in studio with us as well. Marley Gaylor is here. Good morning, Marley.
Morning.
I have learned in just the past few minutes that you are a very decorated athlete with multiple medals. How many? Do you know offhand?
Lots of golds, lots of silvers for powerlifting and cross-country skiing. Bronze, silvers.
You've got all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, and many of each.
Yes.
Okay. You are also explaining to me, can you share your weekly schedule of workouts and sports that you're involved in?
Workouts, I lift 4 times a week, and then I do basketball on Monday and Thursday, and then cross-country skiing on Sunday, and then golf in the summertime, track and field, softball.
And this has taken you to really interesting places in the world.
Yes, it has.
Where have you gone?
I've gone to Berlin, Germany, and I've gone to Berlin, Germany, and Munich. And then Turin, Italy, and Calgary. And then this year I'm going to Nationals in Medicine Hat, Alberta.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Now, Mark, this is the very reason that we do the Polar Plunge, to help out raise some money for Special Olympics Ontario so that people like Marley can pursue these goals.
Yeah, it's amazing. She represents, not only the local special athletes, but also those across the province and across Canada. And they're incredible human beings, and they have amazing abilities. So policing services across Canada and Ontario have been proud for decades to support Special Olympics. And it's all about what you just heard about, the amazing accomplishments, the pursuits, the training, and the social aspects of sport that bring these athletes together. And then we have a chance to promote and champion all of their work through our own communities.
You mentioned during the news update that police officers will also get involved in these various pursuits, including like there will be some powerlifting later today.
Yeah, so we participate year-round trying to connect with those athletes within our own region. So we participate locally with basketball, baseball, powerlifting tonight, some bowling activities. So as they host their practices and their training, and as they move towards competitions, we're there to support them every step of the way. And I said, as we were warming up for today's chat, we usually get our run for our money. The athleticism, the competition is fierce, but the spirit of sport, bringing people together, is what it's all about. And that's why we're so enthusiastic to support Marley and everyone else.
Marley, how did you get involved in all of these sports?
So that's kind of funny. I got involved, bowling was my first sport. And Mom put me in to be more social, and then learned very quickly you don't have to be social in bowling. And then my confidence has just gone through the roof since then. I got more social with people. And
yeah, it sure has, because look at you this morning. You're just hanging out at the radio station like a champ, right?
Yeah.
And even, for example, we hosted the Special Spring Games in 2024.
Right.
And there was chances for public speaking and promoting the games. And Marley and other athletes had a chance to give speeches about their lives, their accomplishments, and then promoting the sports that they are part of. So that's part of it, too, is really getting a chance to grow and to learn and to improve.
You know, it's funny. You talk about speeches and whatnot, and that triggers the memory from what we were talking about just before we came on the air. So, Marley, Mom said you got to, increase your socialization and look at you this morning. I asked you if you were going to do the polar plunge, and you are not, but you're going to be the MC.
Yeah.
Why don't you want to do the polar plunge?
I don't like being cold.
I'm with you. See, this is exactly why I will never do it. I don't like being cold either. This winter's, but wait a minute. You cross-country ski.
Yeah, but you're moving. Lead up.
So this is a great setup because this is the power of a team. We all take different roles,
yes.
Right? So the Polar Plunge is, as you mentioned, our 8th annual. It's being hosted on Saturday at our Saturday, March 7th at our WRPS headquarters at the Community Center. And we've got this down to a pretty good rhythm. Like, we know what to expect. There's the icy cold water. We have participants from across the region, individuals, families, teams, organizations, businesses. They all come out and they take the plunge. They raise money. The goal this year is $40,000. And we've already started to see the money and the teamwork flow in. So it's a great occasion, and we really want to encourage people to come out. And if you're not brave enough to take the plunge,
I heard what you said there.
There are options. We have there's fundraising where people can purchase a bag of ice to throw that in the cold water. There's these rubber chickens that we throw in too as fundraisers as well, just to emphasize the fun of the event, and it is a great time. And there's also refreshments and a hot tub to warm up afterwards as well.
You go full uni, don't you? I think I've seen this before. Full uniform, you jump in.
Yeah, it's part of it is really wanting to show our commitment as police officers and community leaders to Special Olympics. And what I get to see throughout the course of the year is they stitch together all of the representation from across Canada and Ontario, and you see police officers and other community groups and individuals supporting the same event right across the country. So that's important to us, that people see us connected, and it's only cold for so long.
Okay, yeah. Marley, you have never done this, right?
No.
Okay, you're smart. Trust me, you're very smart about it. What is it like jumping? So a week Saturday, and this winter has been brutal. Yeah. I can't imagine. What's it like?
Listen, cold plunging has taken on a life of its own now.
Fair.
So for some, it's not such a big deal. But I'll tell you, every year, it's a little act of bravery. But I can tell you that my peers, we think about what these athletes put in every day, what they put in to train, to compete, to come together. And so whatever we can do in those fleeting moments to take that plunge is all about supporting them. And that's the spirit of what this is about. And I can tell you that's a uniting force right across the country.
Marley, I get the sense, because Mark shared that when you compete together, it's usually you and your fellow athletes beating them. What's it like when you have to get into competition against the police officers?
It's a fun time.
Is it?
It is competition, but it's all in good fun. Yeah. Some of them get Maybe grass. We're going to beat you.
Yeah, the chirping. You wouldn't believe the chirping
A lot of it,
occurs.
Yeah.
And we know that leading up to some of our events when we come together, there's a lot of anticipation. It's all about friendship, and it's all about raising the game for everyone.
How much do you enjoy doing this, Marley?
I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. Mark, how can we support you? So you mentioned it's a week Saturday at police headquarters on Maple Grove Road.
Yeah, so it's you can support financially or there in person. The goal is $40,000. It's all going to support Special Olympics Ontario and our local athletes. So if you want to participate, even just a internet search of Polar Plunge Waterloo will take you there to register and to support. And it's a great time. And we assure everyone who even comes as a participant, they will be entertained and they will be inspired by the show of support from our community.
You get some pretty wild outfits that people choose when they jump in, etc.
There's costumes, there's walk-up music, there's some good posturing that occurs. And teams come together and just showing up for each other. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm going to share this link on our Facebook page. So facebook.com/The Mike Farwell Show. You can see the link there. You can make a donation right there or register. Now, Marley, as the MC, what's your job like? What can we expect from you as the MC?
I don't know.
You can just figure it out because you're an expert now, right?
Yeah.
You're such a pro. You are absolutely a pro. It is so great to get the chance to meet you. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
What's next? Anything coming up for you? You mentioned nationals before.
Nationals in Medicine Hat in August.
Right. And that is for what sport?
Powerlifting.
Powerlifting, okay.
And then a competition in March in Aurelia.
Okay.
On the Sunday.
Is that also powerlifting?
Yeah.
Explain powerlifting to me, because that's moving as much weight as you can, right? Deadlift, am I right about that, or how does that work?
Deadlift is like from the ground, bench is here, and then back squat is back there.
Right.
And I'm only against one girl, so I am trying to stay like the top female in the world against everyone in the world.
Yep.
And keep it up. And goal is 400 for my deadlift.
400 just for the deadlift?
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be all three movements.
No.
Yeah, if we're looking for a hashtag, it's don't mess with Marley, because she's formidable and she's got a track record of excellence in powerlifting and other sports too. So this is what it's all about. It's her accomplishments are inspiring and we wish her well in the upcoming competitions.
It's amazing. So it's Marley and her friends that we're trying to support here through this Polar Plunge. Again, the goal is $40,000. Look for the link on our Facebook page. You know where that is, facebook.com/The Mike Farwell Show. Marley, the next time you get involved in a competition with the police, whether it's basketball, bowling, doesn't matter, make sure you whoop them good, okay?
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Chief, it's always good to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Regional Police Chief Mark Crowell and decorated special athlete Marley Gaylor with us in studio on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. So the super impressive special athlete you just met on the show, Marley Gaylor, is going to be emceeing the annual Polar Plunge, the 8th annual, coming up a week Saturday at police headquarters. It's all in support of Special Olympics Ontario. I am going to be, and boy, oh boy, I'll bet you if United Way Waterloo Region Communities knew that Marley was available, they probably would have chosen her, but they're stuck with me. United Way is on Thursday night at Catalyst for the 4th annual Corporate Trivia Challenge. Joan Fisk is the CEO of United Way Waterloo Region Communities and joins me on the show. Joan, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
4th annual Corporate Trivia Challenge Thursday night. Tell me more about how this got started, what it's all about.
Well, it actually got started by volunteers on our board, and they had the first one at Abe Herb, and it was such a success. We had such a laugh, but it was all on these floors, and it was a real professional person that called the questions. Well, we shifted it over to Catalyst, and it is the spirit of community, and it is alive and thriving now in year 4, and we are bringing back a very popular fundraising event, but we're also bringing back a very popular MC. So never mind moving it on to Marley. You don't get to give up the job.
I will not. I would never, because it is so much fun. And you bring in teams from across the community, and there is a real fun spirit of competition associated with this.
Look out. We have a city competition between Kitchener and Waterloo.
Ooh, I like that.
There's 30 different teams, but that one is one to watch. You know, we had the one to watch. That's the one.
You know, Joan, that as the person that you are handing reins of a microphone to, I may take some liberties with those teams. I hope they're ready for it.
I hope you do. That's why I'm giving you an alerting the media, as we say.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And all of this, of course, helps to raise money for the great work that you do at United Way Waterloo Region Communities.
It sure does. And it's a fun way to do it. But we love having you as our entertaining and gracious host for the night, because all of us have funny questions that we have in our mind. In fact, recently I was asked a very funny question that if I had a pet parrot, what would I teach it to say? I had no idea.
Joan.
What would you do? What would you say?
You know what? First thing that comes to my mind, and forgive me for this, but I would teach the parrot a curse word.
Oh.
I absolutely. So when everybody comes over, it's like, it wasn't me, it was the parrot, you see? I just blame it all on the parrot.
Oh, well, your sense of humor is coming out right here.
There you go.
But really, I do want to thank you. And I want to thank all the local businesses and the people that come and the community leaders that will be there. Jared Urbanovic told me that he might not be able to make it, but he's thinking if he gets back from where he is, he's going to pop in and see how that challenge worked out. And we'll get Miss Mayor Dorothy McCabe to weigh in as well and I'm sure you'll take a bit of liberty with that. And we've got lots of different fun. The winner from last year, the runners-up from the year before, we're going to have a really fun evening. And best pizza and great beer. So what could you say? What could be better?
You know what? You just read my mind. I remember the great food we were able to enjoy last year. That is terrific pizza. And yes, of course there is beer on site, which is one of, I should be honest about this. When you ask, the first question I ask before I say yes is, will there be beer? And then I get a yes to that. And I'm like, okay, I can come to your event.
Oh, that's so funny. But we are looking forward to it. And we really appreciate your work and your help, because this is a really important piece. We need to have fun. Don't you think our communities all need a little bit of laugh?
We absolutely do, Joan, especially now. Like, this is a perfect time for it. I was going to say, especially now. It's been a bit of a grind winter-wise here. So why don't we get together on Thursday night and have some fun together?
We are, Mike, and we're going to have fun together, and I'll be there. And we'll have lots of laughs. And in the meantime, think about some funny questions you might ask yourself.
Ooh, I can do that. I absolutely can do that. I'm just on the website now looking at it, and I'm seeing the Corporate Trivia Hall of Fame. So what's at stake here for the winners, Joan?
Well, of course, a trophy.
Of course.
What could be better than a trophy? But it's worse. The other thing is you have to defend yourself the year coming up. So you have to sharpen your intellect. You have to get yourself ready for, not only do you win now, but you've got to show up and beat the challengers from the year before.
Absolutely.
So we'll see who shows up as the winner this year. It will be fun.
2023 was Changemakers United. 2024 Retained Learnings. And then last year it was the Robo Canucks who were the winners of the Trivia Challenge. The money that we're able to raise, Joan, what does that help United Way Waterloo Region Communities do?
This particular money will be going to children and youth, because it's our signature spring appeal, and we're really looking forward to having that kind of support get into the community. We've got lots of things that we deal with, very complex problems when we deal with children in food insecurity and mental health and many other parts of the community, and that's what this Trivia Challenge helps to support. And we are so grateful for that. We've got a board team, which is they call themselves the Joan Jets, and the board, I forget what they're calling. Anyway, we'll have to laugh about that.
I hope it's the Joan Jets and the Board Hearts.
It is that.
Okay,
right.
Yeah.
You're right. You must have been tweaked on that.
That's a very good team name. It fits just perfectly. And you know what I love about this, kudos to the board. You mentioned it was volunteers with the board that came up with this idea 4 years ago, because there are so many fundraisers on our calendar, right? And so you try to find something a little bit different, get people involved, have some fun, and next thing you know, you've got 30 teams ready to participate on Thursday night. Well, it's a sold-out event, and we are really looking forward to the fun and the camaraderie and the great gambling that will happen in that who's going to win. I will bring my very best, and I'll make sure I egg on the crowd while I'm there. All right. Well, Marley will be proud of you. Joan, thank you for this. Keep up the great work at United Way, and thanks for joining the show this morning. We will. See you soon. All right. Bye-bye. Joan Fisk is the CEO of United Way, Waterloo Region Communities, the Joan Jets, and the Board Hearts, the United Way board team's name. And I'm going to warn you right now, Waterloo and Kitchener, corporate teams entered. I think I heard, too, that Cambridge has also entered a team. So brace yourself. Like, I'm bringing my very best amalgamation commentary, okay? And I will joke about which municipality is superior. It's all in good fun, okay? But I will be biting in my sarcasm on Thursday night. I promise you that. We're all going to get together at Catalyst 137 on Glasgow Street, which, as Joan mentioned, has like some terrific pizza in there and some very good beer. Stockyards is coming out of that place. So graffiti market, some good food, some good drink, some good times, all in support of United Way, Waterloo Region Communities, focusing the funds raised through this event will focus on children and youth in our community because that is one of the pillars of United Way, Waterloo Region Communities. Okay, I have to get you to the news center for your noon update. And then it is open lines from noon until 1, the way we close out our show every day, giving you the chance to weigh in on the issues of the day. And we have had several of them, including how to deal with a problem like Donald Trump, whether or not school board trustees are still necessary, and which pothole would you like fixed first? Trussler Road, Victoria Street, Highland Road, they've all come up so far. It is an open line opportunity for you to have your say on Talkback. Coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, this is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak. Don't talk back. Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage outside, or you don't go out Friday night. Don't talk back.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, how do you feel about those new garbage collection carts? It starts next week here in the region. Why don't we just throw that into the mix? So we've got local, and more local. The new garbage collection carts, how are you getting them to the end of your driveway? What is it going to look like in your neighborhood? How about those potholes? Which ones should be filled first? Trussler Road, Victoria Street, Highland Road have already been brought up. Do we still need school board trustees? That's local, and more local. And then, of course, how do you solve a problem like Donald Trump? Those are just some starting points, things that we've talked about on the show today. But it's open lines, so you can bring what you want to our table. You make the call, I'll answer. Let's have a chat. 519-570-2545. Star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. Walter, start me off, buddy. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Yeah, listen, I heard you talking earlier about that older plunge, and I'm a bit of a history buff, and it got me thinking about that in the early 1800s when Napoleon, when he was retreating out of Russia, and they got to a river, like he went in there with around 600,000 men. On his retreat, he had about 40,000. Came to a river, and there was no more actual crossings. And he ordered his men. It was minus 31, and he ordered his men to get in the river. And they actually had to cut trees and go in and build a bridge. And they had a choice: either in the river in minus 31, or you get shot. and there was over 10,000 men actually perished, and he ended up getting about 30,000 men over that bridge. And like even to this day, when I run my hand under like cold tap water and I think about that story, I was going like, I wouldn't have lasted like 1 minute. Like,
you and me both.
Yeah, it was just like unbelievable, like that cold, like it would just be right through your bones, buddy. So anyways, I just thought I'd share that with you. That's, it popped back in my mind when I heard you guys talking about it. Okay, man, have a good one.
All right, Walter, you too. And I'm going to get that link for you, I promise, up on our Facebook page. Hang in there with me, facebook.com/The Mike Farwell Show, the 8th annual Polar Plunge in support of Special Olympics Ontario. It's happening a week from Saturday, so that'll be the 7th of March at police headquarters on Maple Grove Road. They're hoping to raise $40,000, and we had one of the most incredible athletes, Marley Gaylor, in studio with us talking about her various accomplishments. She's been to Munich, she's been to Berlin, she's been to Turin, Italy, she's been to Calgary, she's going out to, I forgot already, in Alberta. Shame on me. I had it in my head a moment ago. Anyway, she's going to be in Aurelia for a competition soon. Power lifter, basketball player, cross-country skier. Just incredible stuff across the board. Medicine hat. I got you, Marley. I got you. Anyway, check out the Facebook page in mere moments. I'll have that link posted for you. Next up on Talkback, Liam, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my friend. Force member 224 here.
I love hearing from Farwell's Force members. A force for good, a force for change, a force to be reckoned with. What's on your mind, Liam?
Well, I thought about ranting about the USA winning gold in men's and women's hockey, but to be honest, I kind of want to change things up and talk about maybe like competition stuff, because I feel like if we want to improve like the development and the quality of cities, what we need to do is like do an Olympics where like who can build the best houses, who can like collect the garbage and stuff. Like I feel like we need to have like blue collared Olympic style stuff, if you know what I mean, because I feel like if we want to improve life, that's what we're all about here at University of Guelph, improving life. I feel like we need to like push more Olympics style competition for like the things that we do every day and stuff. I don't know what you would think about that, but I mean, I get overwhelmed by looking at the news and stuff about just like political instability and stuff, and I find it's best to stay off Twitter because Twitter just gets so overwhelming with how much hate and bigotry there is on there. But my thought is, if I want to improve the quality of life, I feel like we need to come up with like competitions and stuff, such as building houses, plumbing, garbage pickup, etc., and even like cleaning the streets. I don't know what you think about that, but I wanted to know your thoughts, really.
Oh, thanks, Liam. I think it's a great idea. I mean, look, we talked about the Olympics yesterday, and I'm disappointed, frankly, that we as a nation only ended up with 21 medals, 5 of them gold. I do believe in my heart of hearts that the pursuit of athletic excellence is worth something, and when it comes to the Olympics, there is a nation-building argument you could make through the pursuit of those medals and the successful earning of them. So could we leave the games for the athletic competition and the pursuit of that excellence and have different ones as well? I don't know, but I really do like where you're coming from. Let's have the Olympics of municipal infrastructure. Who is building the best houses? Who is doing the most effective and efficient job of collecting garbage? Who is doing the best job of clearing roads and sidewalks, etc.? I could get behind it, Liam. I could get behind it. Sean is next on Talkback. Good afternoon, Sean.
Good afternoon, Mike. Number 165.
Another member of Farwell's force. We are a force to be reckoned with.
You know, you were talking, was it Cindy Watson you were talking to?
The public school board trustee, yes.
I got to say, she did not give a very compelling argument in favor of school boards, and I really don't see the need for them. Most of them seem to treat it as a political springboard for their futures, and they seem to have some political axe to grind. And as for the parents, they seem to be more about shutting down conversation than enhancing conversation. So I would say Let the ministries run the school, quite frankly. We don't need school boards. They're a colonial holdover.
Sean, I can't say that I disagree. And the ministry does essentially run school boards or schools these days. Everything gets delivered top down. Everything. So what is a board doing? Except, political springboard, infighting, costing us here. Like, it's been brought up, the litigation within our public school board, right? The just a horrible hiring of the former director. By my estimate, and I think it's a conservative estimate, cost us at least $1 million. Now the boards can't get aligned on PD days. Like, explain to me in what world two school boards cannot just say, these are the Fridays we're picking for professional development next year. Because if we don't align them, it's going to cost us $300,000. We don't want to cost $300,000 to the public, do we? Well, apparently we do, because we're not aligning our school calendars. It's preposterous to me from where I'm sitting. So I kind of lean your way, Sean, kind of lean your way. Romeo, Farwell's Force member number 306. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right.
That's good.
I think you had a good idea last Friday, I think, when you were talking about the entertainment center downtown Kitchener.
Oh, baby. You want me to go off on that one again, eh? I thank you for thinking I had a good idea.
I go to a lot of concerts, Mike, and I'm sick of just going to Toronto. I'm sick of leaving Toronto, and I'm sick of going to London or Windsor. There's never good enough concerts in Kitchener, I don't think, in my opinion.
Wow.
Anyways.
And a bigger venue and a nicer venue would get more people, get more shows here. You're right.
So that's my thought, and I'm proud of our boys no matter what. And the hockey there for Canada. And I think it was actually awesome of the United States bringing out Goudreau's children out there.
Oh, my gosh. That was a very touching moment. If you didn't have tears in your eyes, the Dust Ninjas were not operating at your place. Just to go back to what Romeo is alluding to, and I love it when you tell me I actually had one good idea. So last Friday, I had a good idea. How long will it be until the next good idea? I can't tell you for sure. But the idea I proposed is the following. With the declaration that the former Charles Street bus terminal is surplus land, I started thinking about Charles Street from Ontario Street all the way down to Francis Street. You got the bus terminal, you got the old post office, you got a parking garage, you got some surface parking. I mean, what could we envision? And I don't want to give too much away from the column that's going to appear in tomorrow's Waterloo Region Record, but I will just share this with you. We are, because I look this stuff up, I don't just rant and rave for the fun of it. I put some effort behind it. We are the 10th largest municipality in the country. I know you know this because I keep reminding you of it. We are the 10th largest in all of Canada. And the 9 municipalities in front of us that are just larger all have NHL-sized arenas in their cities, in their communities. So why does it stop at 10? I ask you. And then I also looked at the next 2 largest behind us. So we're 10, then you get London, then you get Halifax. And both of those cities behind us, population-wise, have convention centers that boast tens of millions of dollars in economic spin-off activity. So I ask you, how serious are we as a city that is the 10th largest in the country? Why don't we have something even close to an NHL-sized arena? Why don't we have a large convention and conference center that can bring in these different things? Why do we lack hotel space? And so on and so forth. These are questions that I am asking, and I think they are questions that could be answered depending on what we decide to do on Charles Street in downtown Kitchener. Because along with just the bus terminal, there is a whole lot of opportunity along 3 blocks from Ontario to Francis, from what I'm looking at. And I haven't even talked about the former malls, King Centre and Market Square. What could we accomplish there? Those are my ideas. Romeo seemed to like them. Maybe you think I'm onto something. Mayor Jake is next on Talkback. Good afternoon, Your Worship.
Mike, how are you now?
I'm good, and you?
Not so bad, thanks.
That's
I want
good.
to talk about potholes.
Bring it on.
100 yards from each other on Victoria Street, there's 2 devastating potholes. And I'm talking about potholes for when you hit them, the car goes silent. Because you're listening for the ticking or for the screeching sound that comes afterwards. The city managers that complain and say, don't call us and don't be aggressive towards us. Why don't you fix the frickin' things first? You put the sign there to show that it's there. Instead of putting the sign there, why don't you just fix it? Like, it's there, and they're deep, and it's the whole frickin' lane. I don't want to hear any more complaining from any more city managers when they say, oh, people are aggressive and they're mad at us. You charge us the top dollar for property tax. We're going to get the top dollar service that the people deserve. Fix the potholes and do it now.
Mayor Jake, I thank you very much for the call. I will take you back to what we shared earlier today from Fish Guide Dave on Instagram.
This is like the fourth person. Let's guess. All his tires are blown. Yeah, flat tires. The potholes are so bad that every day... Oh, here's another person. This is nuts. Every day I count 2 or 3 people here blow their tires out. I'm like, with my big truck, I got to go around. This guy's blowing out right here too. That's like 5 people blowing tires in these potholes in 2 days. Trussler.
That's a guy with the dash cam footage from Trussler Road in his big truck. You can see him slalom around the potholes himself because he knows they're there. Others, not so fortunate. It gives me an idea. It is an election year. How about somebody runs on the platform of potholes and snow clearing? I'm asking you sincerely, are we doing the basic things in our city today? I don't think we are, because snow clearing has flat out sucked this year, and the potholes are everywhere. Are we providing basic services? What else are we doing that we're neglecting the basics? Potholes and snow clearing. I offer it to you as a platform for this year's municipal election. Use it if you wish. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Hang on a second. Stop the presses. Can I say that still? Are there still presses? Is anybody running a printing press? Okay. My coworker just poked his head in the studio. Brilliant idea. Do you know when we need to have municipal elections? Right now. Could you imagine when we're doing the pothole slalom every day? When we're still infuriated about the piss poor, I just said that, sorry, snow clearing this winter? When the school board is whizzing away $300,000 because they can't align calendars? Do you know what turnout would be like for the municipal election if we voted today? I'll bet you we get higher turnout. By October, how much of this are we going to remember? Oh, it'll be the end of the fall, maybe even like a little bit warm as we get the extra bonus summertime, whatever. Nobody's going to be thinking about this then. I will remind you, by the way, about all the money your school board has wasted. I promise you. I will remind you about the potholes unfilled. Oh, I'm fired up today. Francis, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Good afternoon. Number 36. I have a few things I can actually talk about. I somewhat agree with Doug Ford on training for jobs. The thing is, after they get these jobs, like paid for, they should stay here in Canada for at least 5 years. That's part of it. But if Doug Ford really wants to do something, why don't we build factories like we used to have with Sears when they built 10 more wash machines and dryers, etc. And you could be able to fix them, back in the 70s and 80s. And I had a machine that run between 25 and 30 years because they were able to fix other than the crap that we get from China and all over the place. And like I said, we can make use of our own materials and we don't have to ship it anywhere. And that would be my 3 cents worth. Like I said, I could go on with a whole pile of stuff, but God bless.
Thank you, Francis. I appreciate it. Francis is with Doug Ford. Take courses in post-secondary where there is demand for your skills when you graduate. Victor, you're next on Talkback. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mike. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks.
Good.
I just, I had tried to put potholes out of my mind until the other caller brought it back up again, but I keep falling right back in it.
The pothole?
The potholes.
Yeah.
Sure. Hey, I got a question, and maybe I'm a little naive as far as how municipal budgets work, but if we are in a situation where we have been told all winter long this is such an abnormal winter and snowfall and all those things that go with it, that we shouldn't expect the service that we are paying for because it's so abnormal. Do they not have the ability to go outside of that budget and say, look, in order to maintain the level of service that you are paying for and expect, we're going to have to blow the budget for this year. And if that extra cost has to be passed up the chain because it is abnormal, like why should we just suffer if they've maxed out all of their resources to clear snow? Well, then you still have to go outside of that in order to accommodate a population.
You know, Victor, I don't mean to make you more upset, but the answer is yes, and you don't even have to go up the chain. We have things called reserves, and I can promise you that in Kitchener alone, there are millions of dollars in reserves right now. So you might blow the reserves and have to rebuild them, but you actually have that money right now sitting there.
Well, I'm going to go jump in another pothole then, because that just that doesn't help.
All right.
That answers the question. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for calling in, and that's where we're at. That's where we're at. Grant, good afternoon.
Well, fired up, Mike.
I am fired up today.
Well, you keep it going. Maybe they'll...
Potholes and snow clearing. Anybody wants it for a platform, take it. You're going to win the election in October.
And the school board, what you told me about.
Wasting my money. Yep.
And like they did a number of years ago where they got this painting from, who knows where there was.
That was the school board in Brantford. Went all the way to Italy to get some art. Yep. And they paid, the trustees charged us for the trip. It's amazing. You couldn't find art in Brantford. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Olympics. I like the last figure skating program. I don't know if your callers watched it, where this individual was kind of dressed up in a panda outfit, and he did his routine. It was seriousness.
Well, listen, I didn't see it myself. I have trouble with those subjective, where they just put up the Russian judges give bad scores. Wait, we didn't have Russian judges, but I did not see this figure skater in a panda outfit. I have heard school boards cry poor and then spend $300,000 because they can't align a calendar. Make it make sense to me. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I'm sorry it took me so long. It should not have taken me that long, but I get distracted sometimes. Squirrel. Shiny object. If you visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Mike Farwell Show, the link is there for the 8th annual Polar Plunge in support of Special Olympics Ontario. It's happening next Saturday, not this coming, but a week from March the 7th, police headquarters. They're trying to raise $40,000. You can support their efforts. Again, the link on our Facebook page. Check it out. As we get back to the phones on Talkback, Bob, good afternoon.
You, have a great day.
You too. Have a great day. Are you at the drive-thru, Bob? Bob?
No, I am working. So,
Well, you're a very good customer service representative, Bob.
I work at an auction, an auto auction, wholesale. But anyway, I just wanted to make a quick comment on the teachers.
The school boards?
School board.
Yep.
And I have had a couple of kids at St. Agatha during the fiasco with the school out there.
Oh, that's right. It was going to be, it has been closed down, right? Because in disrepair, correct?
Yeah,
Yep.
But here's the part that people forget. The school they kept open required $6 million of repairs. St. Agatha required $2 million.
Yeah, so what you're saying, Bob, is they had an agenda, didn't they?
They did.
Yep.
And you know what? As far as I am concerned, the Waterloo Catholic School Board is the poster child for getting rid of all of the school boards. Because along with that particular problem, there's, as you know, the $300,000 and so on it's just an ongoing battle and problem. So that was my comment.
Thank you for reminding me of that because I had forgotten until you brought it up again. Appreciate that, Bob.
Have a great day.
You too. Keep doing that great job out there. Your customer service is top notch. My father was the principal at St. Agatha School a way back when. And again, what we're talking about. It's got nothing to do with teachers or how they teach our kids or the work that they do. It's about the governance structure. School board trustees, do we really need them in the modern day? And Bob thinks our Catholic school board is the poster child for eliminating them. I think our public school board is, because they don't get along at all and they waste so much money because they're fighting each other. Oy is all I can say. Jason is next on Talkback. Good afternoon, Jason.
Mike, you're an angry elf today. Holy Moses.
I am. I came in hot and I have not cooled down. I'm sorry.
You know what? I got a phone in and just, actually support our outside workers this winter. Yes, it has been a lot of snow, but we only have so many snowplows. We only have so many workers. We only have so much equipment. We know there was a salt shortage, not just in the city of Kitchener, but across the whole province. And so I actually think they've done a great job this summer making sure our streets are cleared. And I get everybody wants their street cleared before everybody else's because I'm more important than somebody else, but that's not how it works, right? We have this certain grid of what streets need to get plowed first and what street needs to get plowed second and third and so on and so forth. And regarding the potholes, the potholes, this is not new. We have potholes every winter. If people, and again, we can't be everywhere. The city can't be everywhere monitoring potholes. So if people are concerned about potholes, call the city of Kitchener, 519-741-2345. Let them know the location, and they will get out there and fix the pothole. Again, it's not something that just miraculously, pops up on a map saying, "Oh, we got a pothole here." People actually have to let others know that things need to be repaired because we can't know everything.
Out of curiosity, Jason, because I hear you. Like, I get how bad a winter it was, and I really don't have a whole lot in the way of complaints personally. But what are there any conversations happening about how we're going to do better next year? Are we going to hire more staff? Are we going to buy more plows? Are we going to source different suppliers for salt?
Well, and we can, but the problem is, if you hire more staff and you buy more equipment, buy more plows, that costs money. And what we hear in the city of Kitchener is people don't want their taxes to be raised exponentially. They want to keep it within a certain budget. And so we can't have it both. We can't go buying all this new shiny stuff but expect taxes to stay low. Right.
And this is what I like, honest to goodness, because I know you well, and I hope you take this in the spirit in which it's intended. What I want to know, absolutely, what I want to know is the big pot of money that you've got. What can we take out to make more room for potholes and snow clearing? Because I think that's the bread and butter stuff that people want, Jay.
You know what? You're not wrong, and that's something we can look at during budget time.
Yeah.
And I encourage you to reach back out to me if I am still around during the next budget to look at different ways that we can allocate more resources to, again, snow plowing and potholes. But again, potholes, they need to know where the potholes are first before they can fix them, and then they will go and fix them. But again, it doesn't. We can't just snap our fingers and have a crew out there, within 2 or 3 hours of a pothole. So, totally understand, and I appreciate you weighing in. Thank you. Have a great day, Mike. You too. Good to hear from you as always. Jason Deneau is the Ward 3 counselor in Kitchener. I've known Jay for a lot of years. We've swapped beers together and shared stories about our favorite football team. We're both Pittsburgh Steelers fans. And I'm not trying to be hard on the people that I know are doing hard work out there. What I'm thinking in my mind, though, is that's why I'm not joking about this platform. Potholes and snow clearing. Even if it's not on your street, wouldn't you like to see the plows or the work or the sidewalks that were cleared? If it's not on your street or the street that you're driving, wouldn't you like to see a pothole crew out there somewhere? Maybe they are, maybe I missed them, maybe you've seen them today and you can tell me. But this is what I think people expect, and that's why I'm asking about the big pot of money. I mentioned this to my beloved the other day when we were talking at home about the Olympics, and then I brought it up on the show yesterday, and I will just reiterate. I think there's value in funding sport and the pursuit of excellence. I think we undervalue that here in Canada. I think we should invest more. But that's easy for me to say with my bias towards sport. I would like to know, though, what other priorities are being placed above that?
Can we have that conversation? Can I have 2 liters of pop? Like, what are we funding instead of? So, again, to the question I just asked Jason, I get it. Nobody wants their taxes raised. Budgets are stretched thin. But on what? What are we spending money on ahead of more snow plows, more people to drive the plows, and more pothole repairs? Because I'll bet you, if we had a conversation about it, we could find 6 or 7 different things that we think are a lower priority than pothole repairs. And even though it's a regional road, I will say that my buddy Craig shared with me a concern that he had on Fisher-Hallman Road, filled out the online form a week ago. Pothole is still there. So what are we doing here? What are we doing? I know it's cold again today. It's going to be milder tomorrow. I get it. But you got to start somewhere. And Trustler Road looks like a great place to start, region of Waterloo. Have you seen the craters out there right now? That's my 2 cents on it. Brenda is next on Talkback. Hello, Brenda.
Hello. I just want to make a comment about what Doug Ford said, money doesn't grow on trees, because that's exactly what my dad said to me. I got my license at 16. I asked him to buy me a car. We had that father-daughter talk, and he said to me, do you see money growing on the tree in the front yard? And I said, no. He said, well, I have been working a full-time and a part-time job to buy this house, which I'm still paying for. Both of you have a stereo system and TV in your room. You have clothes. You have the food in the fridge. Everything you can eat, you could just go ahead and eat. So he said to me, when whatever you want in life, you go out, you get a job, and you work for it, just as I have been doing for the past 35 years.
Yeah, and I got the same lecture from my father, too. And I think that's what Doug Ford, maybe you want to call him Daddy Doug in this case. That might sound a little bit weird now that it just came out of my mouth, but you know what I mean? And he is telling students that if you want that post-secondary degree or diploma, you got to go out and work for it. Greg, Farwell's Force member number 38. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mike, just after listening to the topics, like, okay, potholes and the election platform, yeah, I agree. That sounds good. That should get people's eyes. But then, okay, so say if I say, yeah, I'm going to do something about these potholes. I'm going to do something about the snow plowing efficiency and whatever. All right, sounds good. I get voted in. It's not a dictatorship. So if all of a sudden it's like, oh, hang on, financial restraints, like how many platforms that somebody runs on once they get in, do they actually have the capability to enforce?
It's a fair point. What I'm trying to do here, Greg, is instill it in every counselor that's listening today. And we know at least one is, and I guarantee you Jason's not the only one. Like, let's amalgamate our feces here and focus on bread and butter issues that people care about.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking more, that's like, okay, if somebody individually is saying, like, yeah, like, well, you hear of Catherine Fife taking things to, Queen's Park, whichever, and like some of the bills there. But then, has she been successful in getting all the change? Like, it's just like, you have to almost say, okay, here's what I'm going to run on. And, okay, but remember, I'm going to have to talk to everybody and get everybody else on board because I alone can't just say, yep, X dollars going here. So, and, think of any level of government, how many platforms that they promised don't come through.
I get you. I hear you. And I think it's well-placed cynicism. Again, what I'm hoping to do with this conversation today, and I will repeat again, here's your platform, take it. Snow clearing and potholes. I'm hoping that enough people are paying attention, that collectively on a council, we can make these bread and butter issues. This is what people want. They want bread and butter. They want roast beef and mashed potatoes. Enough with the nonsense. Start delivering basic services better. Full stop. That's what I'm hoping every locally elected official is listening to right now, because there's more than one, I promise you. Basic services, deliver them better. That's why we pay taxes. It's the Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Here is a legitimate proposal for you, okay? 100% sincere. We have, let's just say we were to say, you know what, we have enough bike lanes for now. That money that we want to spend on expanding the network should instead be directed to patching potholes. I'm not joking about this. Not one bit. You've got thousands of vehicles on your roads every day. You've got tens and tens of cyclists in your bike lanes. Make a choice. Make a choice. And I'm asking the choice to be pothole repairs. Miles, you're next on Talkback. Good afternoon.
We don't necessarily have to amalgamate the three cities, but we can amalgamate the services. That would be prudent, just like we do with the Waterloo Regional Police. We could have the services. We don't have to have a snowplow stopping the city limits in Waterloo and another one catching up at the same area from Kitchener. So we can have the services. We can have the services, the police services, all that amalgamated without amalgamating the actual cities.
It is a brilliant idea. My colleague who poked his head in here earlier, and I forget what idea he gave me that I shared with you. Oh, yeah, have the election now because the issues are top of mind. He said the same thing. It's ridiculous how uncoordinated our efforts are from Elmira down to Ayr. Let's get it together, folks. Let's get it together. Doug, Farwell's Force member number 14. Good afternoon.
Hey, Mike, how we doing?
Good.
Hey, I think our Canadian athletes at the Olympics did great.
I think they did too, but I think they should have more funding.
Being retired, I got to see a lot of them, and I still have about 20 hours left on my PVR. But going back to Grant's question about the dancing panda bear.
Yes.
I believe it was just before the closing ceremonies. They have what's called a gala at every Olympic. And it's all the figure skaters that come out in whatever attire they want to wear personally. And they put on a 1 to 1.5 minute performance, and then another group of figure skaters will come out and all that. So the guy that come out in the panda costume for this gala was actually a Chinese gold medalist in one of the skating events.
Well, there you go. The gold medalist in the panda outfit. I just hope this isn't something that only Grant and Doug were able to see, much like the penguin in Billy Madison, if you know what I mean. Ranger Joe, you were there a second ago. You were next in the queue, and then you disappeared. If you call back, I'll put you at the front of the line. But next we go to Terry. Terry, good afternoon. You're on Talkback.
Hey, good afternoon, Mike. With that snowfall coming tonight, I think we're going to be close to that record. We're getting close.
Yes, we are. We're about 13 centimeters away from the record.
Okay, Mike, just a couple quick things because I know you want a couple callers here left. When you refer to the being the 10th municipality without a
10th largest
without an ice rink or a NHL size,
I just said the other 9 have one. Yes.
So I'm assuming that York Region and Peel Region are part of GTA. I guess you included them in there. Or?
Sure. I don't think I did. York, we're larger.
I think they are part of the GTA. But anyway, even if they weren't,
no, they're not. They're their own. They would be. No, they're their own regions.
But they'd be bigger than Waterloo Region, weren't they? Both of them.
No, I'm telling you, Terry. I'm telling you.
I know. But I'm just saying. I don't think they have an NHL size. But I think they include.
They're not bigger.
I think. Oh yeah, York and Peel, man. I mean, Mississauga and Brampton alone are bigger than Waterloo Region. Just those two cities. Mike, Mississauga has almost 1 million people.
I'm pulling my list up right now, Terry.
I'm sure of it.
Okay, so they're part of the GTA.
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. And the other two, I think the two that have it that don't have NHL teams is Quebec City and Hamilton. But anyway, Mike, a quick thing. Your bike, you have a 650 Kawasaki, right?
Yes. Make it make sense to something we're talking about today, Terry.
Right,
come on.
Here we go. I am, Mike. It's a two-cylinder, right? Like a parallel twin, two-cylinder bike?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at getting one of those old retro bikes, like a parallel twin, either a Triumph or even a Kawasaki, but it's the W800. So I was just curious to know. I know yours would have more pep, but I'm just curious. I'm tired of schlepping my big bike around for short little jaunts. So I'm still going to keep my bike, but I'm going to use it more for long trips and have the smaller one for little coffee trips, daily coffee trips. So that's all, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. Sorry about the GTA thing there. I just thought that, I thought maybe that's what you were getting at. But you are correct, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, top 3. Ottawa, Gatineau, together. Calgary, Edmonton, Quebec City, Winnipeg, Hamilton. And then Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo. 10th largest municipality in the country. And right after us, London, Halifax. The first 9 of those that I mentioned to you all have NHL-sized arenas. The next 2, London and Halifax, have large convention centers that they boast on their tourism sites as generating tens of millions of dollars in economic spinoff. And there we are. I love you know how much I love our Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, but it ain't NHL-sized. And I love me some Binghamans, but it's not the convention and conference center surrounded by hotels that other communities have. What will we do in downtown Kitchener when we declare surplus the former bus terminal on Charles Street? It's a question I'm asking. I'm thinking big. I wonder if anybody else is. Mary, good afternoon.
I'm thinking big, too.
Atta girl.
Anyway, I wasn't going to call, but I'm in on the school board, school trustees thing. And that lady that was on obviously was like the trustees, at least in the Waterloo region, have become very political. Very. And they brought in that character, the director of education.
Oh, yes, we remember.
Yeah, I know. And didn't we spend a pile of money? And it was just for the ideology of this political group. I know many teachers, and they thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I heard from the staff as well, Mary. I don't think you're wrong. And my conservative estimate is it cost us $1 million.
But you know what I say to them?
What do you say to them?
Sis on you, Pister.
Thank you, Mary. Sis on you, Pister. Mary taught me that one yesterday. I'm going to keep it in mind. And I got to go. Just like that, we're out of time. I promise. I'm going to have another cup of coffee after work because coffee actually calms me down. I'm going to breathe deeply. I'm going to walk Rosie, and we're going to have a nice afternoon together. And I'll come back tomorrow in fine form. I came in a little hot today. I'm leaving a little hotter. But hey, that's how we roll on this show. We have big ideas. We just want some elected leaders to follow them. Rob Snow and Now You Know is coming up for your afternoon. My name is Mike Farwell. You are a force for good. Bye for now.